Good afternoon and welcome to Real Big Talk. I'm Big Rick, that's Lola. And boy, if you were ever going to talk about life in the fast lane, that's me. Left and right, up and down, moving forward all weekend long. It's an absolute lie. The only thing I did that I could even manage to do was play golf in the sunshine yesterday. Lola, did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, I mean, did a lot of housework.
Did you go to the game Saturday?
No, because I did a lot of housework.
Yeah, well, I can understand. Housework can certainly wear you out. As for me, Friday, when I left here, I went and got my second COVID vaccination. And we hurried up. I went with my buddy Kyle, and we hurried up and came back home because we didn't know how we'd feel. I mean, let's face it, the idea of getting my COVID vaccination in Cambridge, Ohio, leads me at least 80 miles from home. And so it's not close. And I thought, well, we better just turn around. Because I even thought about, well, just head back this way, maybe go pop into the game for a period or two Friday night. And I thought, you know what, I think maybe I would just go home. So I did. I went straight home after getting my COVID vaccination. And then I waited. And I waited. And I waited. And I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel anything. My arm didn't even hurt. And I will say this. I went with the logic for those that are waiting to get their COVID vaccinations. I went with the logic is if you put it into your dominant arm, you move that arm a lot more. So actually, it's much less painful because the idea is if you get it in the other arm, your arm is more stagnant. It just kind of sits there and you have to purposely move it. But if you put it in the arm that you write with, your hand you write with, you move your arm a lot. I had zero pain at where the injection site was, so I was glad that I did that. So I went home and nothing happened. And then I went to sleep at my normal time, and I woke up, and nothing happened. I actually had convinced myself, this is how much of a hypochondriac I must be. I convinced myself they didn't even give me the shot. I'm like, maybe they gave me an empty one. I don't know what happened. Why am I not sick? So really the only thing that happened to me through the course of the day, and this could have just been a happenstance, is I got a little bit of a slight headache. But I mean, enough that I was outside cleaning my cars and doing stuff at my house that it was just like, my head kind of hurts, but I was still doing things. I was upright, mobile, and moving around. It never actually hit me. I had a much more difficult time with the first one than I did with the second one. Now, my friend that went with me, he seemed to have not as difficult of a time the second time around, but he slept all day. He slept for like 24 hours, just off and on, slept the entire time. My other buddy, he got real sleepy, he got real tired, and he had a bad headache, but again, nothing too severe. For me, it was just like, I convinced myself I didn't even get it. I didn't even get it. I'm going to have to go back. I think we are just so cranked to 11 where we hear so much misinformation about, I mean, even people some got sick, some sicker than others. For me, nothing happened. But we hear so many things that we don't, A, know what to believe, and B, don't know what to expect. And people are different. Human bodies are different. I mean, I've actually convinced myself over the weekend too, and I don't know why I've done this because there's no proof of it. I just, in my own head, I've been too much of the examining it too much. But I'm like, well, maybe I already had it somewhere down the road. Maybe I already had antibodies. Maybe I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm driving myself nuts. I'm driving myself absolutely nuts. But the bottom line is this. I got it. It's done. I did really get it, I'm sure. I don't doubt that. I made sure that I put my card in a safe place because I have a feeling down the road.
Yep.
You're going to need it.
Yep, I agree with you on that one.
I mean, the idea of this is such a... I ended up talking to my neighbors on Saturday. I was outside, standing in my yard. I was cleaning out my cars, and they were outside doing stuff around their house, planting trees. It was a beautiful day. And so we ended up chatting, and I told them, because the last time I had seen them was in December. It was a pretty nice day. It was like in the 50s in December. It was when I was quarantining. I know this sounds weird. I only see your neighbors every 3 or 4 months, but everybody's hiding inside. So they were outside, I was outside, and they asked me, they're like, oh, did you ever end up, being positive? And of course, at that time, I hadn't, but I hadn't seen him since then. And I told them that I had just got my second shot the day before. And she was like, oh, I'm still on the fence about it, whatever. All you can do is explain your own experience. If you believe the science, you believe it. If you don't, you don't. And I don't know that anybody's going to change your mind on that. But if I just described my experience to her, and I said, I have to make sure as I was cleaning out my car that I take this card in and put it in my house. And I said, I have a feeling we're going to need it. And she was like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, there's a good chance if you want to travel, you're going to have to show this card or some sort of digital form of it as we move forward. And I said, if like going out to places and concerts and things like that, you may have to have it. I mean, she just went ballistic. I mean, not at me, but to me about, well, I don't want that. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. Look, the idea of whether you'll need a vaccination passport in the future isn't up to me. So we can call and talk about it. Call me and talk about it. 304-214-1600. 304-214-1600. Let's discuss, but, it's not like I'm telling you have to. It's not, those two people over at the Watchdog said I have to have this. Look, I'm not telling you anything. But the possibility of needing it in the future to go back to doing and moving about the way that you want, I'm sorry, the possibility is there. And you can shoot the messenger, but the facts are the facts. Other countries are doing it. You're probably going to need to show it to get into other countries if you have any design on travel. You're probably going to need to go to Canada. I would venture to say that that's going to be a thing, that you will have to have your vaccination records to go to Canada. So as the world keeps complaining, open it up, no more masks, open it up. Yet a big chunk of the population isn't getting vaccinated. That's really a rock and a hard place. Mm-hmm. It's a rock and a hard place. And I don't know when it will come, but I bet that some form of that will happen. The concert industry, trust me, is chomping at the bit to go back. We saw, if you haven't seen this, and I know a lot of people from this area flock to it, but the Kenny Chesney show in Pittsburgh, the big Kenny Chesney Let's Trash the City of Pittsburgh and Make them Clean it up for 4 days show that they do at Heinz Field every year, it has been postponed again till 2022. I don't think there's anybody that thinks that 60 to 70,000 people are going to be allowed in one place by this summer. I don't believe that in any way, shape, or form. But I think if you want to go to that in 2022, there's a good chance you're going to have to show that you've been vaccinated.
Your kids have to have vaccinations to go to school. What makes us any different than our children?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never, like I said many times, I don't have any kids, so I've never had to make that decision. But I mean, I would imagine the decision I would make for my kids would be the one I made for myself, is there's a vaccination for something that could go terribly wrong in my life. I'm going to take it. But I'm just seeing all of what other countries are doing. Some other countries are back to having big events. And the one common thread that they seem to have is they either eliminated the problem by doing what they were supposed to do at the beginning, which was stay away from each other, and now like one case pops up and they're like, we have a case. Here it's like, oh look, only 2 million for Florida. That's pretty good. But those places that are getting back to normal life, and some of them aren't. A lot of Europe right now looks like a sinking ship. Mm-hmm. You don't think that Italy is going to make that something that you have to do? I mean, Italy has closed down 3 times now?
I think 3, yeah.
Yeah, I think 3 times. And trust me, they don't want to do it again. And I wouldn't be shocked. If a vaccination passport is going to be part of what the Italian government does to try to slow this thing down and get them back to a more normal existence.
Well, if you're going to travel overseas to some places, particularly Asia, you have to be vaccinated for certain things. I mean, if you want to go, that's what you do.
I went to Russia in 1995. Not only do you have to have your passport, but you have to also get a visa. And coming with that is, are you going to bring anything to this nation that we don't already have? And that's part of it. You have to be vaccinated. So again, I don't know why, from my point of view, I don't know why people are so adamantly against something that has the science to back it up. But again, they're so adamant about getting back to normal life. Well, those two things probably won't happen until one or the other gives way. We're going to go ahead and take our first break. 304-214-1600. There is a huge list of things to talk about out there in the world. We'll get to all of them. We'll take your phone calls as well today on the show. This is The Watchdog.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
When winter weather strikes the Ohio Valley, you can trust the Storm Tracker 7 weather team to help you plan your day. Our experienced meteorologists stay connected with you on TV, online, and on social. Get your weather information straight from a local source. We'll help you be prepared and make sure you'll never be surprised.
And we do expect dry conditions overnight, tonight, and all day tomorrow.
Meteorologist Dr. Dave Walker, Aaron Mylar, and me, Zach Petty, the Storm Tracker 7 weather team. Working.
Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 want to thank the owners and contractors of the Ohio Valley for using their locally trained workers to help build for the future. Local 83 helps design, fabricate, and build the gas infrastructure for the oil and gas industry here in the Ohio Valley. Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 is 300 members strong and growing. They also do residential, commercial, and industrial work on both sides of the river. For more information, call Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 at 304-233-4445.
Update your home's exterior with new siding and get 11% off everything at Menards. Timbercrest Premium Double 4-inch Vinyl Siding is engineered to be durable, 15% thicker, and has the look of natural cedar siding. It has a limited lifetime warranty and is available in 9 colors. $679 per 12.5-foot piece after 11% off. Good through March 27th. Savings or mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
This guy knows so much about sports. They based the Sports Almanac from Back to the Future off of his dream journal. He's Bill DeFabio, weekdays noon to 2 on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog.
Welcome back to Real Big Talk. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola. This is your show. We talk about things you call us. Put in your 2 cents. You don't have to agree with us. You can agree with us. But it's your chance to open the conversation. Have a voice. Get something off your chest. We're going to discuss one that might just be the thing that heats you up today. I don't think anybody could look at what's happening at the United States-Mexico border right now and not be concerned for a lot of reasons. This can go in a lot of directions, and that's why I want to hear from you, because what's your take? 304-214-1600. The Biden administration is spending $86 million on hotel rooms for migrants as the administration struggles to handle the surge of families and kids trying to get into the U.S. So the already very taxing issue is now going to cost a big pile of money more. Now, in the grand scheme of things, the numbers we've seen thrown around in front of us, spent by the government, $86 million seems like a bargain for anything, considering what we've seen. So there's that. There is how many, and truly the number of how many people are trying to get into this country right now. How many kids, just kids, without their parents? How many kids without their parents? We have a phone call, Lola?
It's Dan.
Hey, Dan, what's going on?
Did you say $87 million?
86 million being sent to, was authorized for ICE to put migrants in hotel rooms right now while they figure out what they're doing. That's how overwhelmed the Border Patrol is.
Let me ask you a question. Wasn't it 60 days he had the National Guard sleeping in a doggone parking lot?
Well, I don't think they slept in the parking lot the whole time, but there were certainly many days where the National Guard were sleeping in the parking lot, and that was protecting the U.S. Capitol.
During protecting him?
Well, protecting government officials. I mean, it wasn't just him. Protecting government officials.
You know what? I could use some. I tried to catch a cab this weekend, and it took me 3 hours. I think we could use some illegals to start driving taxi cabs. Well,
we have to figure out what to do first at the border before anybody's getting jobs. But yeah, it is a frustrating situation for everybody involved, for sure.
Yeah, I'm all for the American dream, man. Everybody gets the American dream, you know. And if you're being oppressed, you know, I'm all 100% for you. But when I see these people coming across the border and they're wearing better tennis shoes than I am, and they got cell phones and designer clothing, I don't think they're being oppressed very much.
Well, and I've also, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, Dan. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but I've also seen these kids get to the border who look like they're near death because they've been walking for 600 miles with limited food, limited water, and limited shelter. And as a human being, seeing a kid suffer and seeing an animal suffer is like the hardest thing I have to endure with my own eyes, and I can't stand that. However, I'm 100% sure that right now, this is the biggest mess we've ever seen at the border, and that's not comforting.
I saw in Time magazine a father was trying to get across the river, and he and his child both drowned.
Yeah, in the Rio Grande.
That is heartbreaking that somebody wants the American dream, but then yet we have people here that, they get their stimulus and then they don't want to work no more.
Yeah, it's a couple of twofold problems, Dan. We got another caller on the line. I want to give everybody a chance on this one. I know it's a hot one. Thanks. Take care, Dan. Lola, who we got?
This is Michael.
Hi, Michael. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Rick. I'm actually very disappointed with WKKS. I'm a long-time listener ever since the radio station started. You guys used to be about local talk. I'd like to know what's going on with Governor Justice's tax bill. I'd like to know what's going on with the monument bill. I'd like to know what's going on with the free colleges complaining about a new one coming to town. I'd like to know what's going on with the I-70 construction update. But unfortunately, I'm listening to a conversation about what's going on at the border. What's going on at the Mexican border has absolutely nothing to do with what's going on in Wheeling, West Virginia. And all you're doing is making stupid white men in this valley feel better about themselves. How about having a show that is totally dedicated on local headlines instead of bringing up these platitudes about the southern border? I wish WKKX would go back to being live and local like it used to be under this show's former host. Thank you.
Well, let's talk about it. You could have stick around if you wanted to talk about it. There's a pretty wide variety of topics discussed on the Watchdog, on WKKX. Howard is great at this. Howard is very much woven into the fabric of this community and how things go. Hoppy Kercheval covers everything statewide. Bill covers sports and local topics. Bill has different guests from around Wheeling in quite often. And as far as I go, I have a guy who talks about state government on at least once, if not twice a week, and Stephen Allen Adams, who writes for The Intelligencer right here in Wheeling. I have local talk quite a bit. I have guests in that are local that talk all the time. I also am well aware that the crisis at the border right now is the absolute hottest trending topic in America. So yes, that's right. It's not centralized to Wheeling. But I'm pretty sure last week we had over an hour's worth of conversation about Bluefield State and about the things that are going on with the mayor. You want to talk about WKKX? The mayor has a show here every Wednesday. Every Wednesday. So yeah, maybe every topic that doesn't come up on this station, or certainly this show, is absolutely, completely, 100% Wheeling-centric, but I assure you, Michael, that the crisis at the border has just as much to do with you as it does with me and anybody else that lives in Wheeling, because you're paying for it. Whether you are on one side or the other, as far as your political affiliation goes, you could still voice that frustration. And I don't care which side you're on, the show is open to everyone. So, yeah, the crisis at the border, it is not the border between Ohio and West Virginia. It is not separated by the Ohio River. But it is still something that people in Wheeling can sound off about, care about, voice their opinions about. So I actually have no problem with what I'm doing until I'm told to do differently by the people that manage this radio station. Then I'm going to do what I do best, and that's push conversation along. Leave the lines of communication open. And I assure you, I have never dismissed one local topic that's ever been brought to my attention or that needs discussed. You want to talk about 70 construction? It's there. It's going to be there forever. It's been there, honestly, since I was a kid, coming to Wheeling to play hockey at the then Civic Center. How's that? I mean, I can tell you when it's going to end, but I'd be lying to you, because knowing exactly when it's going to end, there's no clue. If there's an accident that happens during the course of the day, of course I tell you about it. But if you want to know the truth, you're going to sit in some traffic. I'm not sure exactly what it is that you expect, and if you have a loyalty to a certain someone or anyone that talks more about locality than I do, then I suggest you listen to them. I don't know exactly what you want me to tell you, but if you want to call, complain, and then hang up, all I can do is address without you on the phone. So I have absolutely zero problem with the conversations that take place on this station or the differences in opinions in which come up during those conversations. So I thank you for the phone call. I appreciate your time and effort. And again, I'm not saying this in a snide way. You're always welcome to call back, because everything I talk about on the show, if it isn't a little bit of fluff, a little bit of fun, maybe a little lighthearted something or another, absolutely positively has to do with West Virginians and the citizens of Wheeling, because it matters. This is still part of the United States of America. I should probably run for president. At that point, I think Lola will just go ahead, take a break, come back, and freshen it up right here on the Watchdog.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm Chris Lawrence. The chairman of the House Government Organization Committee, Brandon Steele, says he is hoping to be back at the House of Delegates in a few days after being diagnosed with COVID-19.
Aside from a little bit of congestion and, on quarantine, but I feel fine. Things are going as well as can be expected.
At a news conference earlier today, leading Democrats in the legislature said Steele's situation should serve as a wake-up call. House Minority Leader Doug Scaff said the vaccination rate is far from 100% at the Capitol.
There's a lot of people in this Capitol that yet to be vaccinated, and we need to take this thing seriously. And when one of our members is affected, it affects all of us. And who knows what the outcome is going to be.
GOP leaders say delegates who had direct contact with Steele are quarantining, and there's COVID-19 testing available. A hearing is in recess this afternoon in federal court over the fate of Morgantown businessman George Tanios, charged with assault during the Capitol insurrection back on January 6th. Tanios is in a detention hearing before a federal judge. He's accused of using bear repellent along with another man from Pennsylvania to allegedly incapacitate officers, one of whom later died. Governor Justice with a forum set for later today with business leaders to talk about his plan to cut state income tax. Approximately 20 leaders, including former state Senate President and gubernatorial candidate Bill Cole. You're listening to Metro News, the voice of West Virginia. The governor earlier today opening up COVID-19 vaccinations to everybody over the age of 16.
Beginning right now, if you're 16 years of age and older and you want to get vaccinated, you get into one of our clinics or whatever it may be, and we'll get it done.
You can register at vaccinate.wv.gov or sign up with Walgreens or other pharmacies that are offering those vaccinations. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Chris Lawrence.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash, powered by The Score on the Watchdog. I'm John Thayer. Matt Jones won the Honda Classic yesterday as he turned in a 12-under par effort over the weekend, shot a 68 in the final round. He finished 5 shots better than number 2 Brandon Hagee. 5 golfers finished tied for third at 6 under par. Ryan Blaney got by Kyle Larson late to win at Atlanta yesterday and become the 6th driver to win in 6 races to start NASCAR's Cup season. Larson finished second while Alex Bowman, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Busch rounded out the top 5. Half of the Sweet 16 is set in the men's NCAA tournament. Baylor will take on Villanova, Arkansas against Oral Roberts, Loyola Chicago against Oregon State, and Syracuse will take on Houston. It's the perfect time to bring out your very best, so hurry in for great deals now at the Jeep Start Something New event. I'm John Thayer with the Sports Flash, powered by The Score on the Watchdog.
If I'm not commuting anymore, where do I really want to live?
While you handle life's questions, Merrill Guided Investing helps you manage your portfolio and invest for your next move with the option to work with an advisor at a low cost and minimum. Merrill, a Bank of America company. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals to get started today.
Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member SIPC. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not bank guaranteed and may lose value.
I'm Dr. Baker, an ER physician. If you're having leg pain, swelling, or redness, but haven't talked to your doctor yet, don't wait. This could be deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot which could travel to your lungs and lead to a pulmonary embolism, which could cause chest pain or discomfort or difficulty breathing and be deadly. Your symptoms can mean something serious, so don't wait. Talk to a doctor right away, by phone, online, or in person.
Brought to you by Bristol Myers Squibb and
This is
Pfizer.
Green Fire Chief Larry Holmes, reminding everyone about the seriousness of this COVID-19 in our region during these colder weather months. This virus is spreading rapidly and could put a strain on our hospitals and emergency services. I am asking everyone to please wear a mask. It's important to make sure your mask covers your nose and your mouth at all times. Wearing a mask is one of the only defensive tactics we have to slow this virus down. Remember, wear a mask, stay apart, and wash
There
your
are
hands.
times when you shouldn't ignore what your body is telling you, and you need to seek medical care. At Wheeling Hospital, we want you to know that we are taking every precaution to make your visit as safe as possible. We're screening visitors using the latest infection control technologies, offering telehealth for physician visits, and more. This is true throughout our campus, in our ER Trauma Center, our physician offices, surgical center, and on our patient floors. The pandemic isn't over, but be assured that at Wheeling Hospital, we are here when you need us.
New Belgium Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available in West Virginia and distributed locally by wine and beverage merchants. With its toasty and biscuit-like malt flavors blended perfectly with hoppy freshness, it's bound to become one of your new favorite craft beers. Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available at local retailers. Please don't drink and drive, and drink responsibly. From your friends at Wine and Beverage Merchants.
This guy knows so much about sports. They based the Sports Almanac from Back to the Future off of his dream journal. He's Bill DeFabio, weekdays noon to 2 on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog.
That funky sound. Rock and roll, DJ Cool.
Live and local in the middle of downtown Wheeling, West Virginia, right here on Main Street. It is Real Big Talk. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola Miller. This is the Watchdog. Welcome back. 304-214-1600 is the phone number. You're welcome to call with anything, obviously. We're going to continue the conversation we started, though, about the crisis at the border. $86 million given to the ICE organization to put migrants in hotel rooms to try to at least temporarily house them as the wave of people coming from Mexico to the Texas border is overwhelming. There's a lot of philosophical debates that you could have about this. I think the first one is, none of us live in Texas. And that really, regardless of the way anybody thinks about Texas and the things that Texas does, that is the first place these migrants go. So, would we feel differently if we lived there? How would we view the situation if it was all of these migrant folks coming to America were filing into Ohio, West Virginia, or Pennsylvania, wherever you may be listening at right now? I think our opinions would probably vary, but I think a lot of our opinions would change if we saw what was happening there firsthand. And I think the hardest part about this is to really get a true gauge on it. You know, if you lean one way, you're going to see it one way. If you lean the other way, you're going to see it that way. And really, you have to just assume, since none of us pack up and go to the border and see what's happening, you're going to have to assume that the news that you're getting about it is fair. To me, I have the most difficult time hating the idea of people trying to come into this country and have a better life, because that's exactly what my grandparents did, both being Italian immigrants. My father was a first-generation American citizen. So in my lifetime, knowing my grandparents, the little bit that I did, they died when I was right around starting college. I was 18, 19 years old. I know what they risked to get here, and I know what they had to do once they got here. And I got to tell you, for a lot of those people, it wasn't all sunshine and roses when they got here.
No, it wasn't.
There were no hotel rooms offered until Aurelio Derubis found his way into employment and a better life for he and his wife, Anna. So right now, the opportunity is more, I don't know if this is the right word, but luxurious than ever. The look to move to America, especially after 4 years of varying degrees of success at the border for the Trump administration, whether it's the wall, you liked it, you didn't like it. But let's face it, they were more stringent laws. Hotel rooms were not part of it. But I also, as a human being, can't deny somebody's right to eat, take a shower, and sleep in a bed, because I think those are functions that basic humans should be allotted. It is a difficult thing to discover how you feel about it. How do you feel about it? 304-214-1600 is the phone number. How do you feel about it?
Well, it would certainly help people to understand why this move was made if they would allow reporters into these detention centers, and they're not. And a lot of it's kids. What do because they're not necessarily letting families in.
No.
But kids, and what do you do with kids? You've got to take care of children. They can't take care of themselves. And of course, there's going to be a backlog because they have to find relatives here in this country that can assume custody of these kids before they can because they can't just turn them loose on the street. So I think it would certainly be helpful for a PR standpoint to allow reporters in there to see, but then again, that could backfire because it could just be so horrendous that people just go, oh my God, it's just got, you You just got to send them all back. I don't know. I mean, in my heart of hearts, I cannot. It makes me cry to see these children.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. And, I think there's some really good, where Biden dropped the ball on this was immediately not putting into place something. The word got out, and rather than having some kind of a plan in place, because they should have anticipated this kind of reaction to it. Trump was that administration was so hard on migrants that the minute Biden was elected, word just went out. The coyotes and the drug cartels that sell people or, help get them up here just really took advantage of the situation. Personally, I think any coyote ought to be shot, just like we do with wild ones out in the plains. You just shoot them. But they needed to get in place places in each country that were safe for these people to go to and make their applications, and get some handle on it instead of not having anything in place when this influx came. Now they're backpedaling. Now they're really trying to, how do we handle this? There should have been a huge PR push right from the word go in these countries telling people, no, don't come. Here's a place you go and you can apply.
Yeah, no, the lack of planning on this, is it a lack of planning? I mean, is there a part of what was put in place? Look, to point fingers at Republicans and Democrats, one of my favorite things to do, because I think they're both failing. So I can feel like I can sit back here and tell you with 100% certainty that I can point at both and go, everybody failed on this one. But boy, what the Biden administration couldn't have got this any worse. I mean, and like Lola said, you're not really seeing the full story because there aren't really reporters there. I mean, there are.
They won't allow them in.
Yeah, there are pictures that come from different sources. And again, as you've learned, pictures can be made to look however you want. You take a picture from a certain standpoint, it looks like there's 3,000 people in a room, and you take it from a certain standpoint, it looks like there's 300 people in a room. So, you can always manipulate the way you want it to go. But I don't think it could have gone any worse for what America's already going through. And yeah, there should have been, for all the money that this country spends on trying to tell other countries how great of a country this is, the idea that you couldn't spend some money in some of these other countries and say, hey, we welcome we welcome dreamers, just not right now. Mm-hmm. Just not right now. Because again, at the end of the day, we talked about it before, there are migrants that come to this country that will do things that Americans won't do. They won't do them. If you had orange juice this morning, there's a good chance that those oranges that went into that glass of orange juice were picked by a migrant worker. Mm-hmm. And that's a fact. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. So, you know what? Some of those people coming into this country are necessary to keep orange juice for you to have for breakfast. So absorb that while you're getting mad about this whole situation. I'm not against people coming to this country. I'm 1,000% against them coming to this country right now. But I also am a human being, and when a kid is trying to get into this country because they don't know where their parents are, their parents may or may not be alive, and they've been walking for 600 miles to try to get somewhere and a chance to have a better life. Somebody's parents said to them, you know what? Start walking with this group of people. I love you. God bless you. Good luck. How do you turn your back on that? I don't know. And there are some people that would be more than happy to just dismiss the whole situation and go, you know what? Not my kids.
I don't care. Yeah.
I don't care. Yeah. And again, I get why people have gone from, boy, this is terrible, to, you know what? I don't care anymore. I'm just mad about it. I get it. Because it's been awful. This has been awful. This has been 60 days of mismanagement of this very situation. And again, I'm not one sitting here telling you how great Trump was, but the idea that these borders were a lot more secure 4 months ago, 8 months ago, for right now in this country, that actually was okay. That was okay. Maybe you didn't like how it went about doing it, and I really still believe the wall was stupid. Walls can be climbed or dug under, so I don't necessarily think that that was part of the grand solution. But the idea that as soon as Biden got elected, that all these people said, well, it's Biden. It's our turn. We can just start walking. Well, I think it was a mistake. And I think that mistake was made by the Biden administration by not saying, no, you can't. Not right now, at least. We got our own problems that we have to take care of. And yeah, it's become this thing, and it's the easiest thing for Republicans to point at Democrats and go, you screwed this up big time. Big time.
It's been screwed up for 100 years.
Yeah, it's not new, but right now it's just, I think, the easiest thing to point to and just go, look, this was this way while our guy was in there, and now it's this way while your guy is in there.
Okay, Republicans, here's a suggestion. Figure out a way to work together to solve the problem instead of just sitting on the other side of the aisle and pointing fingers. Anything can be worked out, anything, if there's cooperation. And I'm so tired of the finger pointing. The Democrats are saying, well, Trump started this whole thing and, he was so mean and he was this and he was that. Republicans are sitting there going, well, you people are crazy because you can't, look what's happening now. Instead of all of that, sit down and work on something. That's easy.
You would think. But it, for whatever reason, just doesn't seem to happen. We're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll come back and fill out the rest of this hour. Hour one here today, 304-214-1600. This is The Watchdog.
Listen to the Bill DeFabio Variety Show with Bill DeFabio and Lola Miller. Weekdays noon to 2 on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio. The Watchdog.
This is Joe Mazzola, Health Commissioner at Franklin County Public Health. The COVID-19 pandemic is impacting us all in new ways. The stress of COVID-19 has resulted in a rise in drug and alcohol use, and drug misuse can happen in your home. 42% of teens who misuse prescription pills get them from their parents' medicine cabinets. Visit don'tliveindenial.org to learn how to dispose of your leftover pills and talk to your kids about opioids.
Battery power made by steel. From trimmers and mowers to chainsaws and blowers, steel battery tools are exactly what you need to tackle your to-do list. Whether you need to maintain your yard or completely transform your landscape. Shop online for the Steel AK Homeowner Series starting at just $199.99. Pick up at over 10,000 local steel dealers. Real steel. Find yours at steeldealers.com.
Cameron, the Watchdog is protecting your yard. Join Howard Monroe, Hoppy Kercheval, Bill DeFabio, and Big Rick for the best live and local talk in the Upper Ohio Valley and beyond. Cameron trusts the Watchdog.
Dutch Boy's new Platinum Plus paint with Stain Shield technology has the performance you expect from a luxury paint at a price you didn't. Platinum Plus is up to 50% more washable and stain resistant than a leading premium paint in satin sheen. Superiority ranges from 24 to 50% depending on sheen selected. Platinum Plus keeps your walls looking new longer. Menards and Dutch Boy paint have you covered. Go ahead, live your life.
Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Savings are a mail-in rebate. See store for details.
Welcome back to The Watchdog. I'm Big Rick, that's Lola. 304-214-1600. Yesterday, this piece of news came out, arguably, basketball aside, of course, there's been a few big headlines, obviously, with the NCAA tournament starting. But I think arguably the biggest headline this year, sports-wise, has to be the Tiger Woods crash. And this piece of news came out yesterday. Tiger Woods likely never took his foot off the accelerator before the car he was driving smashed into a tree last month, according to this new report. There is no evidence that Woods slowed down or hit the brakes as he careened off the road into a tree shortly after 7 a.m. What does that mean? This is from the LA County Sheriff's Department, who has been investigating this, and this is what they told TMZ. What does this mean? Boy, if you let the internet try to tell you what it means, it's not a pretty picture. Some people speculating that Tiger didn't want to stop. I don't believe that for a second.
I don't either.
I don't believe that for a second. There's no way you can tell me that Tiger Woods was trying to put an end to his own life that Tuesday morning. I will not believe that. And until Tiger Woods says that's what I was trying to do that day, I'm not going to believe it. I would probably work under the idea of Tiger Woods fell asleep.
That's what I think.
I think Tiger Woods fell asleep. In Tiger's past, him using a sleeping pill has come up. I use the same pill. I'll be on full disclosure. If I don't take a sleeping pill, I do not go to sleep. I don't know why. For many years, I slept for like 2 or 3 hours a night until I finally went to a doctor and got put on medication. And now I sleep like 5 or 6, which is better than 2 or 3. I will say this, though. In my life of taking this pill, I've only had a few incidents, knock on wood, of me doing something unbeknownst to me in the middle of the night. And honestly, it was trying to buy stuff off of eBay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a true story.
That's the worst thing.
It's a true story. 2 times I bought something. One time, and I will just, in full disclosure, I bid on a $25,000 hot rod in the middle of the night. Luckily, I did not win it. Because had they called the next day and said, we'd like to deliver your hot rod, I would hate to tell them that I did not have $25,000 laying around to pay for it. So it's happened 3 times. That's the only thing that ever happened to me. But when you live the schedule and the life of a Tiger Woods, you probably stay up way too late, indulging in whatever you want to. And that could be Rocky Road ice cream or anything else. And then you have such a demanding schedule from the moment your eyes open until the moment you go asleep again. I think you fell asleep.
Well, if you take it too late.
Yes, that is a huge problem.
Yes, then, okay, so you get up, you can get up, but you're not quite right.
You don't have all your faculties. I've done it. I mean,
Me too.
Yeah, I've done it. You absolutely don't have all of your faculties. If you don't sleep that pill off 6 to 8 hours, you can be awake and you can make your coffee the way you like it and do all those things, but you are not clear-headed. And I think that's probably where Tiger found himself. Right now, he finds himself at home continuing to try to heal from those injuries and surgeries that he received the day of the crash and the couple days after. But interesting. Boy, when Tiger actually lets somebody write the story or produce the movie of his life, I think is when you find out what happened with this crash. Somehow they will capitalize on it. Stick around. This is The Watchdog.
Stick around. You're gonna hear electric music, solid balls of sound. Say, can you gonna hear the sing now? Yeah, ooh, so fade down.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. While COVID-19 cases have been dropping in the U.S., they've increased 8% worldwide. World Health Organization Director Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus today criticizing unnamed countries that he says are in a position to share vaccine doses with countries in need, but aren't doing so.
The inequitable distribution of vaccines is not just a moral outrage. It's also economically and epidemiologically self-defeating.
But with the AstraZeneca vaccine to seek emergency use authorization in the U.S., White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says it's not known yet whether the U.S. will send some of those doses to other countries should there be an abundance of supply here later this spring.
I wouldn't jump to that conclusion at this point. There are obviously a number of factors, including the fact that these variants are unpredictable. We're still at war with the virus. We don't know which one is going to work best with children.
The press secretary also pushed back on criticism the administration is getting over the surge of migrants at the U.S. southern border.
The border is not open. The majority of people are turned away.
With more than 15,000 migrant children now in federal custody, Psaki said the administration's goal is moving them out of Border Patrol facilities that are not made for children.
We want to move them in part because of COVID, in part because they're not places that have the educational, the health resources, and other resources that we believe these children should have access to.
Karen Travis, ABC News, the White House.
A 14th juror has been seated for the trial of Derek Chauvin.
She's described as a white woman in her 20s. She said she's seen clips of the video of Chauvin's knee on Floyd's neck 4 to 5 times on the news, and she said she feels neutral about both Black Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter, but said she disagrees with defunding the Minneapolis Police Department. On Friday, Judge Peter Cahill said he would like to see 15 jurors in total, allowing for 3 alternate jurors. Mark Remillard, ABC News.
The Dow up 164 points. You're listening to ABC News.
Cleanliness and safety are essential to the success of any business. That's why Cintas has introduced our Total Clean program, a one-of-a-kind service that includes scheduled deliveries of essential cleaning supplies, hygienically cleaned uniforms, and on-site sanitizer and disinfectant services to help eliminate germs. Learn what the Cintas Total Clean program can do for you. Oh, I'm ready! Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
Dell's semi-annual sale is the perfect opportunity for a significant business upgrade. Save up to 45% on Dell computers built for business and powered by Intel Core processors. Plus, enjoy special pricing on Dell docks, monitors, servers, and more. All with easy financing options through Dell Financial Services. Speak to a Dell Technologies advisor today to find the right tech for your business with fast, free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. Again, that's 877-ASK-DELL.
A disparity between men and women college athletes is coming to light after social media posts showed subpar accommodations at the NCAA women's basketball tournament compared to the men's tournament. ABC News contributor and USA Today columnist Christine Brennan says universities should do more to address the disparities.
I go back to the university presidents. They are a huge part of the NCAA. And they could take care of this today if they wanted to. Obviously, it's a matter of funding. But our girls and women deserve more than they're getting.
After the post went viral, NCAA officials apologized and accommodated the women's squads with weight and exercise facilities that they needed. After allegations of racism from Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, the British royal family is now on a diversity drive.
The Queen considering hiring someone specifically to make working for the monarchy more inclusive. A royal source acknowledging to ABC News that more needs to be done in terms of representation, adding diversity is an issue which has been taken very seriously across the royal households.
ABC's James Longman. The website reviews.org is holding a 24-hour digital detox challenge. No phones, TV, gaming, computers, or smart devices could earn you $2,400. If you're selected, you'll get a gift card to put together a tech-free survival kit. Reviews.org has some tips on that kit, including writing paper to replace text and paints and brushes to replace selfies. This is ABC News.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing a wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer Wet Jet. With Swiffer Wet Jet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer Wet Jet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Dave Packer, ABC News.
This is ONN.
President Joe Biden will be in Columbus tomorrow for another of his stops on a tour highlighting healthcare costs and the American Rescue Plan. Tracy Townsend with affiliate station WBNS-TV in Columbus has more.
Mayor Andrew Ginther says he's looking forward to welcoming President Biden.
Very excited. Anytime we have the leader of the free world come into our community and we get to show off what's going on here in Columbus. But I think, if the president could come here and see what's happening here and with all of our partnerships around the community, the work that we're doing to vaccinate folks, his leadership in this crisis, and a chance to thank him for the rescue plan.
The White House has not released specific information about the visit.
And a burglary suspect died after being shot by a police officer in suburban Toledo early yesterday morning. Michael Tater with affiliate station WTOL-TV in Toledo says the investigation is ongoing.
Sylvania Township Police Officer Kyle Andrews, who has 8 years in law enforcement, caught up with the suspect. Police say he told the officer he had a weapon and reached for his waistband. Officer Andrews fired multiple shots, striking and killing the man.
In the end, there was no weapon recovered. It was just the suspect telling the officer that he had one.
Sylvania Township does not currently have body cameras, but Chief Long says BCI is investigating the shooting and the use of force. Michael Tater, WTOL 11.
And I'm Daniel Barnett on the Ohio News Network.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
Thank you for riding with the Watchdog. Live and local. Just the way you like it.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your start to the work week, mostly sunny skies, a high near 69. Overnight low of 40 degrees under mostly clear skies. You'll see plenty of sunshine mixing in with just a few clouds for your Tuesday with highs in the upper 60s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors. It's not red. It's not blue. It's just real. Real Big Talk with Big Rick continues now on the Watchdog.
I remember when Rock was young. Me and Susie had so much fun, holding hands and skimming stones. Had a no-go Chevy and a place of my own, but the biggest kick I ever got was doing a thing called the Crocodile Rock, while the other kids were rocking round the clock. We were hopping and bobbing to the Crocodile Rock. Well, crocodile rocking, a song was shot, and when your feet just stand, keep still. I never knew me about time, I guess I never will. Friday nights, the Susan wore just as straight and the crowd rocking right out on the side.
Welcome back into Real Big Talk. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola. It's Elton John. Thinking about concerts like I often do. I was thinking about the last time Elton John played at West Banco Arena. What was that? Probably 4 years ago or so? I mean, we were so lost in the year of nothingness as far as concert goes.
I think it was longer than that.
Was it? Yeah, I mean, I was there, but it's been a while. I thought it was part of because Elton John started a farewell tour I'm not lying, legitimately may have started 5 years ago. Only second to Kiss, who started in 1977. But yeah, he started that. And to Elton's credit, he was trying to hit every place that he could. Every place that he could. And I think it was part of that, but yeah, it might have been even longer. Someday we will be back to concerts in West Banco Arena, and I'll be excited. Hockey's back in there now. Decent weekend for the Nail, too. Happy to see him pick up a couple of victories. Score a decent amount of goals, too. Kind of an offensive juggernaut, really, for the Nail. This is, I'm going to request that anybody that's a biker give me a call and talk to me about this. I'm not a biker, although I love the idea of owning a motorcycle. I am not responsible enough of a human being to own a motorcycle. And B, everything in my life I have to get to so quickly that if I rode a bike, I know it would be a disaster for me. Because I'm always running. I mean, Lowell knows. After this tonight, I will have another 160 miles of driving and have to call a hockey game for television later this evening. If I rode a motorcycle everywhere, I'd be dead. And I don't wish that. I love bikes, and some of my coolest, most helpful friends in my life are in the biker community. But there was a big rally on Saturday in Charleston about getting rid of the helmet law.
Again?
Yes.
Still. Not again. Still.
I was going to say it continues. And there was I'm reading from WBOY.com if you want to check the source, check the site. But the quote was, I remember when Ohio had a helmet law in the 70s and West Virginia did not. We used to take the helmet off and on going across the bridge, and now we do the opposite. I don't ride a bike, but again, I know plenty of bikers. If I did ride a bike, I think I would be concerned, and maybe this is just because I'm not an experienced rider, and this is where I'd love to hear from bikers or any bike enthusiast. To me, I would be afraid to ride without a helmet, and that could just be because I'd be an inexperienced rider. But basically, what they want is to, first of all, you have to have the SB 77 would allow those who have held a motorcycle license for at least 2 years and are over the age of 21 to choose whether or not to wear their helmet. And yeah, you're right, this does go on. Bikers and helmet laws are like peanut butter and jelly. They're forever synonymous with one another because there's always, no matter where you are, either a cry to make bikers wear them or a rally to have them not have to be worn. I would be afraid to ride a bike without a helmet. And I don't know that if you're a biker, my question is not you, but there's so many bad drivers out there that don't pay attention to motorcyclists that are looking down at their phones. I think now is the scariest time in history. Now, cars back in the 70s used to weigh a lot more, and if you got hit with a 67 Cadillac, you're not getting back up. That thing was built like a Sherman tank. But now there are so many more distractions in cars. I mean, you can watch television in your car. I would be more afraid as a biker, not because of my own ability to ride and ride safely, but everybody else's ability to pay attention enough to not hit me.
Well, it's been a long time since I've been on the back of a bike. And that's primarily, it wasn't that I didn't have confidence in the guy whose bike I was on or any of that. It's the other people.
Yeah.
It's cars. That's what's scary. My ex-husband, whatever you want to call him, he's a biker. My brother has always had bikes, My son was a motocross racer. Bikes have been an intricate part of my life forever, it seems like, forever. And yet, nowadays, nope, and nope, I would not. And it has nothing to do with who's driving the bike.
Yeah, and that's the thing, as I read this story, again, I mean, you can Google search this and read the story about the rally that took place on Saturday. But philosophically, I just think I can understand why riders want their choice. I understand that. I totally understand that. And I understand the point of view of having a law saying that you have to wear one, because there's got to be so much data in, especially insurance companies, because let's face it, follow the money. That's really what depends on what happens. Follow the money. I'm sure insurance companies have put huge dollars behind studies to find out how many more accidents are happening now than ever, because there are more distractions now more than ever. And telling a biker that they have to do something isn't necessarily, I guess, the best thing for the biker. But my thought is, my concern is, you're probably a great rider, but it's everybody else. I mean, honestly, it's concerning not driving a huge vehicle. And I've always had bigger cars, and now I have a sports car and a Jeep. And the Jeep is definitely not like driving an F-150. It's a lot smaller. And as I go back and down the highway, as I do so much, I keep thinking to myself every time I see a biker, man, these truck drivers are not paying attention. Let's get topical. There's so much construction on 70.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's not that it should come up and bite you like you didn't know it was coming, but the lanes shift so much. My fear is for the biker. I don't want you to have to wear a helmet if you don't want to. I just think you should, because it's terrifying if you don't.
You know, the argument always was, well, it's my life. If I choose, it's not hurting anybody but me. But actually, boy, do I sound like the establishment on this one. But
which I know you hate.
Yeah, true. But we all pay for it, because our insurance rates, you know, if there's a horrendous accident and there's brain damage or whatever, you know, that insurance company pays for it and then passes all that cost on to all of us with rising insurance prices. And Lord knows they are high enough as it is, you know. So, I mean, that was one aspect that I really hadn't thought of until it was brought up to me, that, no, it isn't a victimless crime, or, you know, for the lack of a better way of putting it. You know, we all pay for it. And yet I've heard all these other, I don't know, when I was on the back of a bike all the time, I don't know that if we had had the ability not to wear one, that I would have gone without it. You know, I just don't know that I would have done it.
I mean, the only thing I can equate it to in my life is, you know, the most dangerous thing I suppose I've ever done is play hockey. And if I played hockey without a helmet, I get hit in the face with a puck, and all my teeth fell out, or I broke my nose, or shattered my orbital bone, or any of those types of things, they'd go, hey, you should have wore a helmet. Well, you're right, because there's pucks flying at your head sometimes. And a young man in Russia just died, 19 years old, got hit in the face with a puck and just died like last week. So it's infrequent, but obviously tragic when it does happen. I just want to see motorcyclists be safe. Again, in my lifetime, I have had a ton of fundraisers, especially Make-A-Wish fundraisers through the course of my life, where every time I set out to grant a wish, I assure you that the local bikers showed up with a check and said, oh, that kid's going to go do this because that's what we want. And you know what? I was never intimidated by anything that had to do with someone not being in the biker culture. Was never intimidated by that, because they were good people. And sometimes I think people miss, you know, if you see somebody hell-bent for leather, or hell-bent in leather, I guess maybe, and you get a little like, wow, that person doesn't look terribly friendly. Do yourself a favor, talk to them, and if they're not friendly, just like anybody else, walk away. But I bet you'd find that they were.
They're not all sons of anarchy.
No, I know. They're not. No, bikers are good people, and in groups, bikers can be some of the best friends you're glad that you have. As we wrap up this, one of the last things I took out of this article, and I don't know exactly how this works, again, not being part of the culture, but apparently, one of the arguments to getting rid of the helmet laws is the Mountain State is missing out on money from neighboring motorcyclists in the tri-state area who don't have helmet laws. He believes riders avoid coming through West Virginia for that reason. So I don't know if they're talking about gas and, eating and things like that. But I do know this as we head into another summer that looks to be at least, if nothing else, partially COVID blanketed. There's going to be a lot more riders out there because if you have a bike, that's what you're going to go do. It's a pretty safe activity, for you to do outside, be outside. I mean, this week, look at the weather we're supposed to have. There's going to be a lot more bikes on the road just this week alone. And if you're not carrying a helmet, you can't come into West Virginia. So I can see the point. I just worry about safety. I am the establishment when it comes to that. I do. I worry about people.
Well, look at the scenery. I mean, all right, here, we've got freeways. That's what people see. But you go downstate and you get off on, a back country road. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. And a lot of people, that's what they like to do. They like to get on their Harley and just go, and see the state itself, not a freeway.
Yeah, I was just saying. Sometimes you have to remember, Wheeling especially is probably one of the most metropolitan parts of the state. I mean, you don't think necessarily of this as being a big metropolitan area, but there's a lot of highways. It's a lot of that. Whereas you go down through Beckley, once you get off the turnpike, you're in a whole different part of the state. But it seems like
said you need a passport to go down.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have said that. But yeah, it is a beautiful state for riding for sure. We're gonna go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. We'll take more calls. We'll get into more subjects as well. This is the Watchdog.
Listen to the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe. Weekday mornings 7 to 10 a.m. Only on the Watchdog. Live and local talk radio, just the way you like. For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
New Belgium Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available in West Virginia and distributed locally by wine and beverage merchants. With its toasty and biscuit-like malt flavors blended perfectly with hoppy freshness, it's bound to become one of your new favorite craft beers. Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available at local retailers. Please don't drink and drive, and drink responsibly. From your friends at Wine and Beverage Merchants.
Catch Biff Leonard on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe. Weekday mornings 7 to 10 a.m. Only on the Watchdog. Live and local talk radio, just the way you like it.
Long time ago, I can still remember how that music used to make me smile. And I knew if I had my chance that I could make those people dance, and maybe they'd be happy for a while. But February made me shiver with every paper I deliver. Bad news on the doorstep, I couldn't take one more step. I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride, but something touched me deep inside the day the music died.
I'm Big Rick, that's Lola. This is the Watchdog. Real Big Talk continues. I saw this story over the weekend, and you can adapt it to any city in America. Wheeling, St. Clairsville, Columbus, Pittsburgh, anywhere. But it did take place, actually, in Pittsburgh. And I want to know what you guys think about this, because this probably happens a lot more than reported. But then again, is it any of your actual business? In a private Facebook group called the Pittsburgh Area Police Break Room, this is a private Facebook group. So it's not open to the public to read, and you have to be either a current or former police officer. Many officers spent the last year criticizing chiefs who took a knee or officers who marched with Black Lives Matter protesters, in whom they refer to as, quote, terrorists or thugs, end quote. They made transphobic posts about bullied members who support anti-police brutality protesters or Joe Biden in a forum billed as a place where officers can, quote, decompress, rant, and share ideas. Well, the philosophical idea of people hating on other people is bad. So we'll just start there. But this is a private group. Now, how did this get out? I don't know. Am I sure it exists? Yeah, I'm positive it's not the only one. It's not the only one. People are allowed to have difference of opinions. Now, I'm not saying that they're right. I'm not saying any of it's right. I'm not saying that they're wrong either. I'm just simply saying that people are allowed to not agree. They're allowed to not agree. And what these officers did was find a place that they could virtually commiserate together. I'm not asking you, Lola, if you have a problem with what they're saying, because I assume a lot of that you would, but I'm not putting words in your mouth. But do people still have the right to complain to one another that all have the same ideas? I mean, we're talking a lot in the last couple of months about censorship and freedom of speech. Well, these guys didn't try to do it in an outright public setting. It wasn't that they were posting to their personal social media accounts, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is BS, I don't like this. They did it in a private setting. Are we getting are we too involved with what people think that we can't let them privately share thoughts, whether we agree with them or not?
Yes, we are too involved with people's private thoughts. That's like the thought police. Well, I know what you are thinking, so you're in trouble. No, you don't. And if you did, it's none of your business. It's my opinion, my belief, and I'm sharing it with people that I know. You know, I'm not out there posting it on public platforms. Again, we are just going like so. We're locking the barn door after the horse got away.
Yeah.
And again, there's so many things that just make me sick, and that's one of them. Everybody is entitled to believe what they want to believe. Do I think they're right? No, maybe not. But it's not for me to say.
Exactly. I can't believe, and this story, by the way, is gaining national attention.
Of course it is. Mm-hmm. Go out there and do something constructive with your time instead of wandering into places that you absolutely don't have any business being in. There are so many other problems that you could be working on to resolve.
My mom would tell me to go play outside. Just go play outside.
Yeah.
Just go play outside. It is though a reasonable question. Are we spending too much time involved in things like this? Now, I don't think anybody is going to call and say, yes, these people are this or these people. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say nobody's going to call. Somebody will call or complain about it via social media. Yeah, this is a problem because they shouldn't be saying these types of things. I'm not arguing with that. Officers who marched with Black Lives Matter protests, they were referred to as terrorists. Well, I don't think they're terrorists, but you don't have to agree that they should be marching. They made transphobic posts about and bullied members who supported anti-police brutality protesters or Joe Biden. Well, more than half of America apparently supported Joe Biden, so it's more common than you think. And I get it that's not your guy. That wasn't your candidate, and it's not what you wanted. And that's okay. That's absolutely okay. But I will say this, the part of the article that I have to agree with is this forum was built as a place for officers to go and decompress, rant, and share ideas. I guess in my life, I have 2 or 3 groups, whether they be text message groups or groups on social media, or just friends I can pick up and call and decompress, rant, and share ideas. I think we all do. I think we all should. You don't have to keep it bottled up, because that's when you really
get into trouble.
You get into a lot of trouble if you keep everything bottled up. 100% transparency. It is hard to do this show every day. Read 30 or 40 stories, whittle it down to 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there. Know as much about them as you can. And sometimes a lot of these stories are disheartening. Do you think that I like seeing pictures of little kids stranded at the border? No, it's hard. It's hard. So when I want to decompress, I talk to my friends about sports, or we philosophically talk about, hey, what could make these situations better? Everyone should have that. Everyone should have that. I'll 1,000% tell you, I think everybody in this country should have some sort of psychiatrist or therapist. We could use it. We could use it. And we're all taught, bottle it up. I mean, my father would, if you would have suggested to my father while he was alive, hey, Richard, I think maybe you need to see a therapist, I'd have been backhanded across the room, through the wall, down through the living room, out the front door, rolled down the steps, and hit the side of the car. That's how far I would have been flying.
And then your mom would have said, stay outside and play.
Yeah, don't come home till street lights come on. We're not taught to decompress, rant, and share ideas. Social media lets us rant. And to some degree, social media used to let us share ideas. But the decompress part, I think cops probably have the hardest job out there right now. I really do.
That's a job I wouldn't want.
It's a job I wouldn't want. It's a job I can't do, and it's a job I respect the hell out of. So decompressing, yeah. And you know what? When you work in an area, I don't care what it is you do. Say you work in a particularly rough school district. We'll take the cop part out of it. If you work in a particularly rough school district, for whatever purpose, and honestly, those particularly rough school districts often come with socioeconomic issues. They're not necessarily places where you'd go, oh, what a lovely community, but the school is not good. That doesn't usually go hand in hand. It can, I guess, somewhere, but for the most part, it doesn't. And if you go to that school every day and you work as an administrator, a teacher, a janitor, whatever it is you do there, and you see the same things over and over again and the same behavior over and over again by the same people over and over again, you are going to build some sort of resentment towards that group. There's no way you can't. You're human. There's no way you can't. And a lot of cops go through that. Being a cop in the nicest neighborhood in your area or your state is probably somewhat, not a ton, but somewhat easier than being in one of the roughest, most difficult parts of your state or your area. They do need to decompress. They do need to rant. And they probably do all have similar visions of what they think should be done. And you know what? Just as much as citizens that don't deserve to be beaten by cops don't deserve to be treated poorly by citizens. It's not a two-way street. They should not, just because some cops are getting a bad rep doesn't mean that all cops should, but I think all cops are feeling that. I mean, the cry to defund the police, which was a huge thing over the summer, and trust me, you'll hear it again. We have not heard the end of it by a long shot. That probably is rather difficult for police to hear, considering they leave their families too. They leave and hope that in 12 hours they return in the same way that they left. I can't say I necessarily agree with the things they were saying or ranting about, but I can tell you this, they deserve their place to do it, especially because they weren't doing it publicly. They weren't spray painting it on the walls at City Hall. They weren't writing it in the bathroom stalls. They were talking about it collectively in a group that was private on Facebook.
I wonder how it got leaked.
I really want to know. The story that I have seen thus far has not said, but again, you can be anybody on the internet. You could make an entire profile and talk about your 40 years of service in the so-and-so community, get into that group and just infiltrate it and then put everybody on blast. I mean, and that's what they do. Like, there's no place to run and hide anymore. There's no place to just, unless you have a social club that you know everybody in, and that's probably your garage at this point, you can't share your ideas in any sort of forum that can be hacked. I think it's ridiculous. Again, you don't have to like what they said, but you certainly have to give them the opportunity to have their own place where they're not doing it out in public. Or at this point, really is going to be, we're going down a bad path when it comes to stuff like that. We're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll be back with more on the Watchdog.
The Mountaineers end their season to the Syracuse Orange. Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Caridi. That story coming up on today's Mountaineer Report.
Did you know that 1 in 8 Americans struggle with hunger? Yet more than 40% of the food we produce is thrown out. At Kroger, we know we can do something about this. We're donating more food to local food banks through our partnership with Feeding America. And we're working with World Wildlife Fund to end food waste. But we can't do it alone. And we hope you'll join us in creating a world with zero hunger and zero waste. Visit thekrogerco.com to learn how you can help.
Love getting prices that are lower than low on backyard favorites like grill-ready hamburgers and fresh-picked strawberries? Then shop at Kroger. We give you more ways to save on the fresh you love with tools like the Kroger app, where you can find personalized coupons on top of weekly sales, plus rewards like fuel points, giving you prices that are lower than the everyday low. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
The season has come to an end for the West Virginia University basketball team as the Mountaineers fall in the second round of the NCAA tournament to the Orange of Syracuse by a final score of 75-72. It is a game that lasts for 40 minutes, but Syracuse's red-hot start set the entire tempo of the game as the Orange built as much as a 14-point lead in the opening half before going into the locker room at halftime with a 6-point advantage. Syracuse then took its lead out to double figures once again, leading by as many as 11 points before West Virginia battled back. In fact, the Mountaineers took the lead with just over 9 minutes to go, 53-52. That is when Buddy Boeheim took over. The son of the Syracuse head coach got blistering hot, finishing the game with 25 points, 22 of those coming in the second half, and he finished the game with 6 three-pointers. Overall, West Virginia simply did not shoot the ball well enough against Syracuse's vaunted zone defense. The Mountaineers end the game shooting just 37% from the field, making 26 of 70 attempts. And on the other side, West Virginia's defense, which has been a weakness throughout the course of the season, allowed Syracuse to make 52% of its shots, and that includes 14 made three-pointers. The Orange win and go to the Sweet 16, 75-72. WVU ends its season at 19-10. Next season, many of these Mountaineers are scheduled to return, including Sean McNeil, who leads the Mountaineers in this game with 23 points, including 7 three-point shots. 75-72, the final score, and that is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield.
This is your VSIN Action Update on the Watchdog. This Action Update brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts, your professional parts people. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
Second round of the NCAA tournament today, Florida State facing Colorado. The Seminoles favored by 1.5 points, -124. Buffalo's +104. Over under 140.5. Alabama is a 5.5 point favorite over Maryland. The Crimson Tide -240. Terrapins +200. Over under 138. Kansas and USC. The Trojans a 1 point favorite over the Jayhawks -120. Kansas +100. Over under 134.5. Gonzaga a 14 point favorite over Oklahoma. Bulldogs -1,600 with an over-under of 154. With your VSIN Action Update, I'm Tony Desiri on the Watchdog.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Oh, there's something so real about living local, and I know without a doubt I'm not alone. And I'm loving living local. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Say I'm loving living local. WTRF is working for me. The Ohio Valley is where I love to be.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help. Tune into Marshall County's second favorite son, Donnie Gilbert, Fridays from noon to 2 on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog.
Do you remember back in 1966? Country Jesus, he'll be the blues, that's where I learned my name. From coast to coast and line to line, to every county there. I'm talking about that outlaw X's cutting through the air. Anywhere, y'all, everywhere, y'all. I heard it, I heard it, I heard it on the X.
Welcome back, I'm Big Rick. That's Lola. The NCAA tournament continues right now. I think we're almost to halftime. Gonzaga in Oklahoma. Last time I had my head turned, Gonzaga was out to a pretty decent lead. I know, WVU fans, I know. So many of you knew going into. So many of you knew. I must have seen Friday before the game a lot of my WVU friends, this is going to, against Morehead State, this isn't going to go well. It's the end. So the fact that they won on Friday against Morehead State, I think, gave a lot of false hope. Now, they could have beat Syracuse. I mean, they could have.
Yes,
but
they could have.
They could have. Syracuse goes out to that monstrous, beginning. I think they were up by 12 or something at one point in the first half. And really, WVU never really caught up.
I think they only had the lead one time.
Yeah, I mean, it just never, the momentum never shifted to their favor. But it was, look, it's something that a lot of Mountaineer fans felt was coming. We're going to talk more about this in the 4 o'clock hour, and we're actually going to focus a lot, too, on Ohio State, because what's some of the aftermath of Ohio State losing is just reprehensible. We'll talk about it, though. We'll get there in the 4 o'clock hour. Before we get to that, though, I did want to talk about the difference between the men's facilities and weight room and the women's facilities and weight room as far as the NCAA tournament goes. And Lola, I'm interested to hear your take, and anybody else's too, 304-214-1600. It comes out, they show pictures of the men's weight room facility at the NCAA tournament, and it is big, socially distanced, pretty nice. I mean, again, everybody's on the fly this year. So I think everybody gets I don't want to say a pass, but you take everything this year with a grain of salt, I think. But when they posted a picture, again, you don't know what the full story is. You didn't see the full pictures, but they posted a picture. One of the female competitors in the NCAA tournament posted a picture of what their weight room was, and it was seriously worse than the one in my house, which is non-existent. It was nothing. It was like a small weight rack. And so this obviously sparked a lot of controversy. This story's been going on for a couple of days, but the NCAA continues to apologize for the difference between the women's facilities and the men's. They did upgrade the women's facility, maybe to at least their standard. But does the punishment fit the crime? And now this is where I'm going to tread lightly, and I can see you. So I'm going to let you go, and then I'll say what I'm going to say.
This is something that has been going on forever. Women's sports across the board have never been treated the same as men. Prime example is soccer.
Sure.
Those women bring in more revenue than the men's team. They're certainly more successful than the men's team, and yet they are paid a fraction of what the men's team gets. Then we move on to college. March Madness for the men, every place they're playing, they have a custom floor with March Madness in the middle. They have several Facebook pages that are dedicated to this. There's television coverage wall to wall. And the women and the men are staying in a really nice hotels. They have room service, they're being treated like kings. Their swag bags are just phenomenal.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
The women are lucky if they get a T-shirt and a water bottle. They're staying in, I think, dorms on local college campuses. The floor that they're playing on, some of them they all have whatever school it is. They didn't bother changing any of the logos or anything on the floors. Some of them have the volleyball markings on there. I mean, it's just like an afterthought. Okay, so the women are playing. It's March Madness for the men, it's the women's championship, which has a completely different ring to it, It's about time that these entities that are run by old white guys wake up and realize that the world isn't like that anymore. And they need to start including people of color, women, and start looking at things truly as equals.
A lot of what you just said, I absolutely agree with. And this year, again, I think is different than any other year. I'm not making excuses for it. It's just we're all living different years than we have previously. So it's what they do with the next one. Now, I will say this. There's no way that the women's tournament will ever outdraw or outview the men's. And I only say that because I'm pretty confident that it's the case. And I'm not saying they're not deserving to be watched. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go. I'm not saying you shouldn't be excited. All I'm saying is the men's tournament is so widely viewed, so widely bet on, so widely pushed, so widely PR'd, so widely promoted, and every other thing you can think of, that the lion's share of the money that the NCAA is going to use to push tournaments is going to be the men's tournament. That isn't to say that I don't feel that the women's tournament should get equal opportunity to be as publicized. They should certainly get the same or similar accommodations and opportunities to work out and all those types of things. I agree. I agree. However, it really, again, comes down to follow the money. Follow the money. And if the NCAA, and look at it from a school-by-school basis. So take WVU. We'll just take WVU, for example. I'm willing to venture in a non-COVID era year, the football team turns a profit. The basketball team probably turns a profit. The men's basketball team probably turns a profit, or at least comes out closer to even. The rifle team, the soccer teams, both men and women's, softball team, baseball, WVU baseball is pretty good. Pretty good. And I lived in Morgantown when they were super, super good. And I would stop by the stadium because I did a lot of business and work with the minor league team there, the Black Bears, and there would be nobody there for a WVU baseball game. So a lot of schools that can, and there's only, some schools don't make any money off their sports. I think WVU with football is one of them. I mean, obviously those games are sold out every home game, but they don't make money. And I think the problem is the NCAA is going to have to, obviously they're going to have to raise the rates on the men's tournament sponsorships and things like that, and probably television deals, if they want to equal out the money and give the same opportunity to the women's teams. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying that women's sports don't matter. I'm not saying any of those things. What I'm saying is you're never going to sell a sponsorship to the women's NCAA championship. As you said, March Madness sounds a lot more fun and crazier than the women's championship does. They have to equally promote it, and they have to go out and find those sponsors. And now this is probably going to be the best time for the NCAA to do that, because female-owned businesses are starting to get pushed. They're starting to get noticed and recognized, and that's probably who's going to have to step up and start writing the biggest checks that they can write, saying, you know what, women's sports needs the same kind of juice as the men's sports, especially when it comes to this tournament. We're going to go ahead and pay more for sponsorship dollars, because really at the end of the day, the sponsorship dollars are what makes this go. They're what makes this go. And it's not a disparaging thing to women. I've enjoyed plenty of women's basketball games. And you brought up the soccer team. USA women's soccer is far and away the better product when it comes to United States soccer. And I looked up just to see, I guess in 2015, based on sponsorships and everything that wraps up into it, I guess there was a slight margin for the USA women that made more money than men. They also played more games because they're good. They're really good. And everybody, when the United States soccer team, because nobody in America really cares about soccer, although there's a lot of soccer fans and kids that like to play soccer and families that get involved in soccer. It's not like USA soccer. It's not like watching soccer in Ireland or Mexico. I mean, it's not.
Europe, yeah.
Europe is just, that's where it's at. But the idea of the women's soccer team making the same amount or considerable to the men is just, and I don't know why soccer does that, because again, the more valuable product is by far women's soccer in America. But everybody puts on their USA Go soccer team, the 3 times a decade that soccer matters in America, and then it goes away. But basketball's popular. It's real popular in the United States of America. I would imagine when there's a non-COVID year, when they go to plan this tournament next year, however they have to do it, I would imagine it looks a little different for the NCAA women's teams. We'll go ahead, take a break. We'll come back, wrap up the hour right here on the Watchdog.
Tune in to the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, weekday mornings 7 to 10 a.m. on the Valley's favorite live and local talk radio station, The Watchdog.
Imagine yourself in a Toyota, like a new 21 Highlander or the all-new 21 Sienna, both with $1,500 cash back. Or check out our new 21 RAV4 and take up to $1,250 cash back. Or a new 21 Camry with up to $1,750 cash back. Visit buyatoyota.com for more deals, local inventory, and to find a dealer near you. You can take cash back or apply toward down payment. Offers vary for hybrid models and exclude TRD models. See your dealer for details. Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Offers end March 31st. Toyota.
West Alexander. The Watchdog is protecting your yard. Join Howard Monroe, Hoppy Kercheval, Bill DeFabio, and Big Rick for the best live and local talk in the Upper Ohio Valley and beyond. West Alexander trusts the Watchdog.
The weather will affect you every day, whether it's good or bad. The Storm Tracker 7 weather team is here to make sure you're never surprised. You can trust us to help you plan your day.
36 degrees here in Wheeling.
On TV, online, on your phone, our experienced meteorologists are here to help you prepare for what's ahead. Watch the Storm Tracker 7 weather team with Zach Petty, Aaron Myler, and me, Dr. Dave Walker. Weather coverage you can count on, working for you.
How do you give hope to a child in the foster care system? It starts with your heart. That tug you feel in yours when you hear that children are waiting for a stable, loving voice to speak up for their best interests. And then it becomes your time. What started out as a feeling that maybe you could make a difference becomes the difference. Change a child's story. There is a child waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at casaforchildren.org.
This is the Watchdog. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola. Real Big Talk. As we were finishing up this hour and we were talking about, if you're just joining us, the NCAA kind of shortchanging the women by a long shot as far as the opportunity to work out in the facilities that they were given compared to the men's. I will mention this, and it's not a shot, but it is the truth. The WVU women's basketball team has more games, and they're going to play on Tuesday night. Right here against Georgia Tech. So that will be right here on the Watchdog. It is different, and we kind of mix the United States women's soccer team into that conversation as well. I could name 2 or 3, maybe 4 women soccer players. I couldn't name you one on the United States men's team. Now, I can name players from the past. I mean, Alexei Lawless was a big one. I remember him. There's a Dempsey. I remember that. It's just not a sport that people care about. It's a sport that a lot of kids are getting into. And honestly, it's a sport that's probably travel withstanding. It's probably one of the cheapest to play. I'm surprised we don't push more soccer. If you have cleats, some shin guards, and a ball, you can practice. I mean, it's cheaper than football. It's certainly cheaper than hockey. It's cheaper than golf. It's probably cheaper or similar to baseball. But it's a pretty inexpensive sport to get involved with. But soccer just does not catch on in America. It just doesn't. And really, I only see, it's the same thing to me, and I'm an avid hockey fan, as you know. When the USA women's hockey team plays, I watch it. I watch the hell out of it. And I love it, and I support it, and I cheer for it. But when it's not on TV and it's not relevant to any other hockey-related time of the year, I know its existence, but I couldn't tell you who's on the team. Phil Kessel's sister was on there. I knew that, and I'm sure it bothers her to be known as Phil Kessel's sister. But it just doesn't get pushed because it doesn't bring in the revenue. And that, I think, is the difference. The women's hockey team in the United States honestly does much better than the men's hockey team does in world competition, but it's not that big. Same thing with soccer. They do much better. It just doesn't seem to ever equal out. I think those things will change. I think there will be more of a PR push by the United States to push their teams, and I think the NCAA will get on board as well and start to push women's sports a lot harder. Let's wrap it up. We'll come back for 4 o'clock hour on the Watchdog.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. More states are easing back on COVID-19 restrictions. New York announcing that starting tomorrow, anyone 50 or older can get the shot. West Virginia today completely opening up eligibility to anyone 16 or older. West Virginia Governor Jim Justice.
I encourage all West Virginians to take advantage of this opportunity and get vaccinated.
Arizona will be doing the same tomorrow. This is more vaccine supply could soon become available. AstraZeneca applying for emergency use authorization for its vaccine. Trials show it's 79% effective at preventing symptomatic COVID-19 and 100% effective at preventing hospitalizations and death.
The White House today not saying how the administration plans to distribute its supply of the AstraZeneca vaccine once it gets a green light from the FDA. I asked Press Secretary Jen Psaki if there will be enough supply here in the U.S. from the other three vaccines that the AstraZeneca supply could all be shipped overseas.
I wouldn't jump to that conclusion at this point. There are obviously a number of factors, including the fact that these variants are unpredictable.
Psaki said the president and his team want to be prepared given unknowns and the focus on vaccinating Americans. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
In Florida, on the administration's Help Is Here tour, Vice President Kamala Harris addressing the situation at the U.S.-Mexico border.
We were left with a very challenging situation.
The Biden administration says it inherited a broken immigration system. Administration border and immigration officials will meet with Mexican officials tomorrow to discuss the surge. Grieving in Atlanta after the spa shootings that left 8 people, including 6 Asian women, dead.
As the families in Atlanta prepare for funerals, they're telling the stories of the loved ones they lost. Hyunjun Grant was a 51-year-old mother of 2 grown sons. Her oldest wrote that she was a single mother who dedicated her whole life to providing for my brother and I. Losing her has put a new lens on my eyes on the amount of hate that exists in our world.
That's ABC's Steve Osama. You're listening to ABC News.
There's no part of our bodies that put in more work than our feet. And with all that work, your feet can start to ache. But luckily, there's relief for our overworked feet. Skechers Arch Fit footwear for men and women. Skechers teamed up with podiatrists to design a shoe that provides total foot and arch support for all-day comfort. They used 20 years of data and over 120,000 unweighted foot scans to create a podiatrist-certified insole that distributes support across the arch no matter what foot type you have. And with all that support comes extreme comfort. Skechers are the fit and comfort specialists, and Arch Fit shoes from Skechers provide expert comfort whether walking or just standing. They're so comfortable, they're not just for people with tired, achy feet. Everybody can enjoy just how amazing they feel. Plus, many are machine washable, so even though you'll be wearing them all day, every day, you can easily keep them looking new. So give yourself some soothing comfort and support with podiatrist-certified Skechers Arch Fit footwear. Your overworked feet will thank you. See all the styles of Arch Fit footwear for men and women at Skechers.com, a Skechers store near you, or wherever stylish shoes are sold.
Voters in Israel head to the polls tomorrow for a 4th election in 2 years.
Tuesday's election here in Israel will be another tight race, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu still has the best chance of leading the next government. Smaller parties once again will play a deciding role, but many more of them are in line with Netanyahu's politics over his centrist opponent, Yair Lapid. Netanyahu's popularity has also rebounded with the wildly successful COVID-19 vaccination rollout here, making it very hard for his critics to focus on his corruption trial. Jordana Miller, ABC News, Jerusalem.
If you've had your COVID vaccination, you may be tempted to book a vacation. But health officials say now's not the time to let your guard down. Dr. Frank Esper is an infectious disease specialist at Cleveland Clinic Children's Hospital.
The coast is not clear. Whether you're vaccinated or not, we still need to keep wearing the masks, to stay socially distant, to avoid the crowds, and for right now, trying to minimize your travel.
Some health experts are recommending on holding off on travel for the remainder of the year. Computer company Acer has been targeted by ransomware hackers demanding $50 million. The group is reportedly giving Acer until Sunday to pay up, or else they say they'll leak the stolen data. The hackers may have exploited Microsoft Exchange to gain entry into the computer's network. This is ABC News.
Indeed knows unexpected demand can stretch your business thin.
Leon speaking.
Like at Leon's Plumbing.
Sorry, quickest we can get there is next Friday.
To stay out of hot water, he needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Dave Packer, ABC News.
This is ONN.
President Joe Biden will be in Columbus tomorrow for another of his stops on a tour highlighting healthcare costs and the American Rescue Plan. Tracy Townsend with affiliate station WBNS-TV in Columbus has more.
Mayor Andrew Ginther says he's looking forward to welcoming President Biden.
I'm very excited. You know, anytime we have the leader of the free world come into our community and we get to show off what's going on here in Columbus. But I think, you know, if the president could come here and see what's happening here and with all of our partnerships around the community, the work that we're doing to vaccinate folks, his leadership in this crisis, and a chance to thank him for the rescue plan.
The White House has not released specific information about the visit.
And a burglary suspect died after being shot by a police officer in suburban Toledo early yesterday morning. Michael Tater with affiliate station WTOL-TV in Toledo says the investigation is ongoing.
Sylvania Township Police Officer Kyle Andrews, who has 8 years in law enforcement, caught up with the suspect. Police say he told the officer he had a weapon and reached for his waistband. Officer Andrews fired multiple shots, striking and killing the man.
In the end, there was no weapon recovered. It was just the suspect telling the officer that he had one.
Sylvania Township does not currently have body cameras, but Chief Long says BCI is investigating the shooting and the use of force. Michael Tater, WTOL 11.
And I'm Daniel Barnett on the Ohio News Network.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
Thank you for riding with the Watchdog. Live and local, just the way you like it.
CA House Music has all the gear to make your music legendary. With all the best gear, including Fender, Epiphone, Yamaha, and more, CA House will have you rocking in no time. Get the most for your money with everyday low prices. And we meet or beat internet pricing. Play before you buy and let our product specialists help you pick out the instrument that's right for you. CA House Music, supporting local musicians since 1872. Play music for life.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your start to the work week, mostly sunny skies, a high near 69. Overnight low of 40 degrees. Under mostly clear skies, you'll see plenty of sunshine mixing in with just a few clouds for your Tuesday, with highs in the upper 60s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors. News, talk, sports, and rock is all right here. Right now. Back to Real Big Talk with Big Rick on the Watchdog.
In the rain, with his head hung low, couldn't get a ticket. It was a sold-out show. Heard the roar of the crowd. He could picture the scene. Put his ear to the wall, and like a distant scream, he heard one guitar just blew him away. So stars in his eyes, and the very next day, bought a beat up 6-string in a second-hand store. Didn't know how to play it, but he knew sure that one guitar felt good in his hands. It didn't take long to understand. Just one guitar, somewhere down low, with a one-way ticket, one way to go. So he started rocking, ain't never gonna stop. Gotta keep on rocking, so they're gonna make it to the top. And be a jukebox hero. He's a jukebox hero.
Welcome back. I'm Big Rick, that's Lola. I was actually going to mention this at the end of the show, but since you mentioned, or since you played that song, Jukebox Hero, and it's about this one guitar that felt good in his hand, I thought this was an interesting story. We often talk about, Lola and I do, if you're new to the show. Every day we both drive past the huge billboard that tells you how much money you can win in the lottery, the Powerball. And we always talk about what we would do. We start to spend the money the second we see the billboard, and we always talk about the things we would buy. Now, I have to say, as I am an avid collector of many things, a lot of rock and roll history, that song makes me think of the idea that Izzy Stradlin's guitar, the one he used on most of the recordings for the Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction album, went up for auction. It began at $50,000. To me, that seems like kind of a low number. I actually figured it would go for more. And I don't know if the auction is over yet, but I remember seeing this. I wanted to mention it to you last week. That would be one of those things I would buy if I had that. I just won all the money on that billboard lottery. I would totally buy that. That or something from Elvis. Preferably both if I had all that money from the billboard. But I would definitely buy something like that. Think about those iconic albums in your life. It doesn't have to be that they were the most iconic albums of all time. I mean, Appetite for Destruction certainly falls into the most iconic for the rock category. But, certain items from certain things, like, that would be something. Like, I mean, if you had if you had the microphone from the first time the Beatles play Shea Stadium, you probably retire on just selling it. There's those certain things for rockheads. Owning one of the guitars that was played on Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses is probably one of those types of things, maybe for people from my generation. But I certainly wouldn't mind that microphone that the Beatles played into at Shea Stadium when they came to America. This is one of these stories that you hate that we're going to have to talk about for a long, long time because it continues to unfold. The insurrection at the Capitol, we're finding so many people from Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania were involved with this. But this to me hits weird because I say I know this guy would be alive, but to say I have intersected with him many times would not be. The guy that's from Morgantown that owned the sandwich shop that is accused of taking the bear spray in and using the bear spray at the insurrection at the Capitol, he was in court, and after a 3-hour hearing that included several recesses. You can find this story, by the way, at WTRF.com, our news partner. A federal magistrate judge has ordered this Morgantown man to stay in jail until he has his trial. His name is George Tanios. And the judge actually said you could have stayed home, you could have stayed at work, you could have visited your mother. But he doesn't know what draws someone to that, meaning the Capitol riot. And he said this wasn't a weekend to visit the Blossoms in D.C. to add insult to injury. So this guy's going to stay in jail. I got to tell you, my experience with this guy is, like I said, limited, but I'd been around him several times. His sandwich shop was down the street from a radio station that I used to work at. And he would come in, and again, I don't remember anything particularly odd about him or like overly aggressive even. I mean, just kind of seemed like a dude that hated, because we did a morning show, just seemed like a dude that hated being up that early to bring us sandwiches at 9 a.m. That was it. Like, that you always see on the news when people go, oh, I can't believe he did that. He was the most quiet person ever. Like, realistically, I've gone over, ever since that story broke about it being that guy, I've thought about it over and over. Like, in my interactions with this guy, did anything ever, like, hit the tipping point for me? And I remember, and honestly, full disclosure, I have zero want to ever talk to anybody that I was involved with at that particular juncture in my life. So I don't want to call or text any of them and ask. But I do remember a couple of times some of the people that worked around me or around him saying he wasn't the nicest guy. Again, he came bearing sandwiches to me, so I thought he was great.
Yeah.
It's like, Friday morning, here's some sandwiches. Perfect. But apparently, as I recall, he did have, I guess, a side to him that people that spent more time with him didn't necessarily appreciate. But yeah, I mean, the judge basically said to him, you don't just have bear spray in your backpack. You don't. You don't. I mean, unless you live somewhere rural, you're not going to run into bears, and you're certainly not going to find them in the middle of Washington, D.C. at the Capitol. What I'm wondering is who, because right now, there's estimated over 300 people have been arrested and charged. Some from, again, a lot from Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania especially. I'm just wondering which one of these people is going to be weak enough to open the door to the bigger investigation. Because you know this is just scratching of the surface of what was intended. Because if this was really what they intended, I hate to say this because people died, and that's terrible. But they really did it poorly. If you think about it, yeah, they got in, they broke stuff, they destroyed things, they looked at computers and sat at Pelosi's desk, and a lot of bad things happened. I'm not underplaying how awful that incident was. What I'm saying is the intentions of the people that were in there and the items they had in which to execute those intentions, thankfully never developed. Well, I wonder who is going to be the one, who's the songbird on this to get themselves out of some trouble and says, here's what we actually meant to do. Here's what the plan was. Because this seems like a way too coordinated effort by an awful lot of people to not actually be worse than it was. And it was bad. It was bad. I'm not saying it wasn't bad. But I mean, there were a lot more weapons in there than got used. There was a lot more rope. There was a lot more things in there.
Zip ties.
Yeah, I mean,
they had an intent for zip ties.
Yeah, and so I just wonder, as all these people, these 300 plus, and the FBI is saying it's going to be more, and I mean, they say they could have up to 400 in the month of April. So these people are getting identified. I wonder who sings. I wonder if it's this guy. I wouldn't be shocked. I absolutely wouldn't be shocked. Someone knows what was supposed to happen there, and it was a much more coordinated effort than you think. It wasn't just a bunch of people that saw a broken window and decided to walk through it. There was a plan there. And someone ultimately will sing that song. And I wonder what it was.
Well, they haven't gotten yet to the part where they start dealing. You know,
that's what I mean. That somebody's going to deal, and I won't be shocked if it's this guy.
Right now, it's just a matter of getting indicted and arraigned and that kind of thing. But when the real pressure kicks up, there'll be a lot of them.
Yeah,
that will.
There are definitely going to be some songbirds on this. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. I read it. I didn't bring it up today because there was, one of these articles that could or could not have a lot of relevance or could or could not be true. And I didn't see enough about it. I didn't see it in enough reputable places to necessarily overly quote it or bring it up or even tell you where to read it. But it was a story about how one of the Proud Boys was boasting about how they used encrypted messaging on that day to kind of coordinate their efforts. And again, it's not something I know a terrible, huge amount about or can attest to the credibility of the story, but there's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind that was not just random people going, yeah, let's crash the door, see what happens. Someone's going to sing about this whole thing, and I think it is going to be absolutely a fascinating read. However, the Justice Department is recognizing the fact that this isn't over. You know, one of the things that happened in the last couple of 6 months, I guess, 4 months, the fact that the weather was bad really calmed a lot of things that are not quite calm. And that's a blanket statement across the board for a lot of things, not just this. This may have calmed because January 6th was a big day. It wasn't just a day that was picked. It was a big day for a purpose. This isn't over. The FBI and the Department of Justice are completely transparent, in my opinion, about telling you that. Hey, we have threats all the time. They want to take down the fence outside the Capitol. Well, go ahead, because I don't think whatever's going to happen happens at the Capitol. I think the Capitol has become old news and overprotected for the idea of doing something like this. But it's not over. It's not over. You don't think some of the things that flared up last summer, as far as social justice events go, whether they stayed peaceful or became riotous, you think that's over? It's not over. I hope that it is, but it's not. It's not. And as the weather gets warmer, these things are going to pop up more and more. I think we have just scratched the surface. And I hope that I'm wrong. I 100% hope that I'm wrong.
Look what's happening in Miami right now.
Oh, we were going to get that. That's next. We'll take this break. We'll come back with that because what's happening in Miami right now is just your appetizer for what's up on the docket for 2021. We'll come back with that story next on The Watchdog.
Listen to the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe. Weekday mornings, 7 to 10 a.m. Only on the Watchdog. Live and local talk radio, just the way you like it.
Are you or your loved ones facing a serious legal battle? The law office of Paul Harris wants you to know you aren't alone. Do you need someone that's not afraid to go to trial and fight for your rights? Attorney Paul Harris and his team are willing to go where most firms are not. The courtroom. With a successful track record in civil litigation, criminal defense, including tax issues and healthcare fraud, Harris Law Office will fight for their clients by offering the most aggressive representation in and out of court. Call Paul Harris at Harris Law Office for a free consultation. 304-232-5300.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection. Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to...
Want to buy your own home but think you can't afford it? What if you got down payment assistance or a discounted interest rate just for being a recent college grad, teacher, nurse, or veteran? The Ohio Housing Finance Agency offers this and more, and our programs are always available for eligible Ohioans, big city, small town, and everywhere in between. Find out if you qualify at myohiohome.org. That's myohiohome.org. Home ownership, ready when you are.
Do you have an oak tree in your yard? Well, this sound could be deadly for it this time of year. Oaks all over Ohio are being killed by a fungal disease called oak wilt. It's carried by a bark beetle that just so happens to love freshly cut oak. So certified arborists are reminding people to not prune oak trees during the warm weather unless it's for safety reasons. Find out more by finding an ISA certified arborist near you at treesforohio.org. That's trees, the number 4, ohio.org.
The timeless sounds of polka live here. Join us 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays for the Polka Showcase with Rich Biella. Sunday mornings never sounded so good.
let's ride. Hey, you got me on my knees. Hey, make it go, let's please. Hey,
4:25 Monday afternoon. This is the Watchdog. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola. Your calls 304-214-1600. You can text us there as well or comment on our comments section on our Facebook page during the live video. I'll get back to you if you comment there. Also visit us at watchdognetwork.com. Our website is newly redesigned and much more user-friendly. So you want to watch a particular, go back and watch the video. You want to listen to it, stream it there. You can also answer our question. It's all up on our website, watchdognetwork.com. So, Lola, you brought up Miami. We were talking about things that are far from over. Let's face it, right now, Florida is having an economic boom. Florida is making all the money it can make and then some. But at what price? They just passed the 2 million COVID mark. 2 million people have had COVID that live in Florida. And they just spent a week holding on and hoping that Miami was still standing. Spring break invaded Miami. Of course, with lax rules comes the opportunity for people who are either tired of COVID, which we're all tired of it, or don't believe it, or don't care. And they all went to Florida on spring break. 60% of colleges, by the way, 60% canceled spring break and kept kids at school. What these kids did was they went to Miami and logged in from the hotel room, present, and then probably went black screen. No one could see you, and they probably just sat there and went and then did whatever it is they were doing, whether it was go to the beach or go to the clubs or whatever else it was. So I think schools, I don't, by and large, to me, 60% was a pretty high number, tried to prevent people from invading Miami. And it did not work. And now Miami's about to pay the price. On Saturday night, I think it was, Friday or Saturday night, they decided they were going to institute a curfew of 8 p.m. That led to overturned cars, pepper spray, and every other sort of riotous thing that you could find in the streets of Miami. And then it just kept going. America has lost its mind. Everybody can probably find a group that they're part of, whether you're part of a church group, a hockey league, or anything else. Everybody has a group. Well, this now is, I think, the norm. The group think is going to decide where it wants to be, and it is going to override the system. And I feel bad for any city officials, police officers, law enforcement of any kind, EMTs, fire, all that kind of stuff. If these amounts of people are going to overwhelm cities, and this was a spring break particular, but I think again we're going to see a lot of gatherings in a lot of places over a lot of things. Man, it's going to be an overwhelming summer with the weather turning obviously very nice out. And going to continue to get better, although we will probably see some rainy season through April. It's not going to discourage people like feet of snow did this year. But boy, Miami was a mess, wasn't it?
I'm not convinced they were all spring breakers.
What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, when, as you like to say, groupthink becomes...
See, I don't like to say that. Apparently, that's what it's called now.
Well, but... all right, I prefer to say herd mentality.
Sure, me too.
So you get a bunch of people together, one small group gets all crazy, and everybody goes, oh, this looks like a good idea. I'm gonna, it's like burning of couches in Morgantown.
Sure.
Ago. But Miami is an awfully expensive place to go for a spring break.
I agree. In fact, I said that to someone yesterday. I was playing golf, and I said, I went to West Palm Beach for a job interview for 3 days. I rented a car because I thought, I'm in West Palm Beach. Am I going to sit in this hotel room when I'm not, doing this interview and going out to dinner with these guys? Like, I had, free time. So one night I went to a Dave Matthews concert because it was there in West Palm Beach. And the other night I drove to Miami. It's only, 60 miles.
It's close.
Yeah, I mean, at most. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to drive to Miami. I'm 1,000% sure in driving to Miami, it cost me at least $30 in tolls to go back and forth to Miami. I got there and I thought, I'm just going to walk around. I mean, I've never been here. And I thought, I want to see it. I couldn't find a place to park anywhere near the Strip that wasn't $100.
Yes.
100 American dollars to park your car. I thought, I can't afford to eat if I pay to park. Because I thought I'm just going to get a nice meal and just watch people go by. It was something to see. To say it wasn't interesting would be a lie. To say it wasn't worth my time or effort or energy or money also is true. $100 to park, and I thought, I'm not going to park, so what am I going to do? I drove up and down the street a few times, and I went, the hell with this. I'm going back. So if you are a kid in college, and I've been a kid in college, and now granted, I didn't go to college on mommy and daddy's money. I paid for it and still continue to do so today. But if you went to college and you had the kind of money that you could party for a week for spring break in Miami, you don't need to go to college. You don't even need an education because you got enough money.
If you got that kind of money, you're in Cancun or somewhere else.
I don't get it. And I guess maybe the travel restrictions have played a role in that.
Well, I don't know. Ted Cruz could get you on a plane.
No, that's true. Mm-hmm. That's true. Snowflake's dad can get you on a plane. God, I love the fact that dog's named Snowflake, and I'll never forget that. It might have been my favorite story of the year so far.
You're just lucky that it didn't get out and get lost in a big pile of snow and they'd never find it.
That's true, because it was a little white dog. It did, in fact, look like a snowflake. But I think Miami became the spot because it was open, because people were able to go there, and Florida's open. And again, you can argue, is Florida being open a good thing or a bad thing? DeSantis, the governor of Florida, thinks it's wonderful. Thinks he did it all right. People are flocking to Florida. I know people who decided to move to Florida because they love their freedoms. Again, fine. I lived in Florida. It wasn't for me. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. But I had more reasons to come back home and be here than I did to stay there. But yeah, I think it's probably a byproduct of kids that had the means to do it, and the fact that we're all so over it. It's hard to follow these rules anymore. I mean, you and I are both vaccinated, and other than coming in here and feeling comfortable enough to sit in a different room from you, I wear a mask. And I hate it. I don't want to do it. I want this to end sometime. This is not going to help. And Miami has decided, officials voted last night, that they are going to extend their restrictions and their curfew for 3 weeks due to concerns about the unruly crowds gathering during the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Those kids are going to go back to wherever in the hell they came from, and they are going to make
spread all over.
Oh man, you're going to have colleges all around the country have big problems with this in a couple of weeks. So when everybody's, today I saw Jim Justice said fairs and festivals in West Virginia can start to be planned as of May 1, which is great news because fairs and festivals for this state are huge. And we talk about the Blues Fest. I've been to so many fairs and festivals around this state. That's great news. And I would imagine other than WVU and maybe Marshall, there weren't a ton of spring breaker. There's just not a ton of people here and a ton of kids. There weren't a ton of spring breakers going to Miami to do that kind of stuff. But trust me, some of those big schools where those kids came from, they are going to have huge coronavirus problems here. And now Miami has to clean up. They have to clean up all the stuff. There were legitimately overturned cars in the middle of these streets. It was just, and they couldn't do anything about it. And if you're a cop, would you just go, you know what? Have at it. I'm not doing this. I think you're going to find this year, and we're already seeing it, but you're going to find this year a lot of cops are just going to say, I'm going to find something else to do. This is going to be a tough summer. I'm just telling you to brace for it. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I'm actually a pretty positive person. But I think this is just your first unruly crowd of the year. We're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll come back, get to a few more topics before we end this show on the Watchdog.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm Jeff Jenkins. U.S. Marshals have detained Morgantown sandwich shop owner George Tanios following a hearing today in federal court in Clarksburg. Metro News statewide correspondent Brad McElhaney.
Based on the accusation that he and a friend used a very, very strong form of pepper spray against police officers at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, and one of those was U.S. police officer Brian Sicknick, who later died.
There was a full hearing today of lots of testimony in connection with the case. Brad has more coming up at WVMetroNews.com. Governor Jim Justice has opened COVID-19 vaccinations in West Virginia to everyone 16 and older.
Beginning right now, if you're 16 years of age and older and you want to get vaccinated, you get into one of our clinics or whatever it may be, and we'll get it done.
You can register at vaccinate.wvu.gov or sign up with Walgreens or any other pharmacy that offering those vaccinations. Justice also making an announcement today about fairs and festivals.
That all fairs, festivals, and similar events will be allowed to resume on May 1st.
Meanwhile, next hour, the governor has a business forum with leaders in the business industry in West Virginia to focus on his plan to lower the state income tax. And at the same time, the House Finance Committee will roll out its own plan in that area. You're listening to Metro News, the voice of West Virginia. There's been some testing today at the state capitol after House of Delegates member Brandon Steele tested positive for COVID-19, and there's been criticism from Democrats. House Minority Leader Doug Scaff of Kanawha County says the vaccination rate is far from 100% at the capitol.
There's a lot of people in this capitol that yet to be vaccinated, and we need to take this thing seriously. And when one of our members is affected, it affects all of us, and who knows what the outcome's going to be.
Scaff at a news conference earlier today at the Capitol. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Jeff Jenkins.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash, powered by The Score on the Watchdog. I'm John Thayer. In the NBA last night, the Wizards fell to the Brooklyn Nets 113-106. Russell Westbrook had 29 points, 13 rebounds, and 13 assists in the setback. Two others scored 20 points in the loss. With the loss, the Wizards fall to 15-26 on the season. NHL, the Penguins fell in overtime to the New Jersey Devils 2-1. The Penguins got out to a 1-0 lead through the first period before falling to the Devils in the overtime period. Men's basketball, West Virginia fell to Syracuse 75-72. The Mountaineers end their season 19-10. West Virginia women advanced to the second round. They beat Lehigh 77-53. It's the perfect time to bring out your very best, so hurry in for great deals now at the Jeep Start Something New event. I'm John Thayer with the Sports Flash, powered by The Score on the Watchdog.
What can give you a competitive edge in today's red-hot housing market? Rocket can. That's because Rocket Mortgage can give you a verified approval. It could help your offer stand out, because when you find the perfect home, you don't want to lose it to anybody else. Rocket Technology provides a rock-solid verification of your income, assets, and credit, giving sellers and their agents greater confidence in you. We've already helped over 1 million clients just like you reach their home financing goals this year alone. So remember this, what can help you buy the home you really want? Rocket can. Go to rocketmortgage.com or call us today at 8338-ROCKET. That's rocketmortgage.com or call 8338-ROCKET.
A verified approval is based on an underwriter's analysis of your individual financial information, appraisal, and title report. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states and MLSConsumerAccess.org.
Want to buy your own home but think you can't afford it? What if you got down payment assistance or a discounted interest rate just for being a recent college grad, teacher, nurse, or veteran? The Ohio Housing Finance Agency offers this and more, and our programs are always available for eligible Ohioans, big city, small town, and everywhere in between. Find out if you qualify at myohiohome.org. That's myohiohome.org. Home ownership, ready when you are.
Do you have an oak tree in your yard? Well, this sound could be deadly for it this time of year. Oaks all over Ohio are being killed by a fungal disease called oak wilt. It's carried by a bark beetle that just so happens to love freshly cut oak. So certified arborists are reminding people to not prune oak trees during the warm weather unless it's for safety reasons. Find out more by finding an ISA certified arborist near you at treesforohio.org. That's trees, the number 4, ohio.org.
My little girl hurt her foot and needed a doctor fast, but her physician wasn't available, and I wanted her seen as soon as possible. Then I remembered the Wheeling Hospital Urgent Care, right in downtown Wheeling at the Stone Center on Market Plaza. Open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day, the center is ideal if you have a sudden sickness or injury. The doctors and nurses were great, and they also provided x-rays, a pharmacy, and lab draw station. No appointments needed, and convenient parking is nearby. Wheeling Hospital Urgent Care. They'll take good care
This
of
guy knows so much about sports. They based the Sports Almanac from Back to the Future off of his dream journal. He's Bill DeFabio, weekdays noon to 2 on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog.
It's Real Big Talk on the Watchdog. I'm Big Rick, that's Lola. Tomorrow we'll talk to Stephen Allen Adams. We always talk to him on Tuesdays. He covers everything state government for the Intelligencer, and we just heard in the update there that someone has coronavirus, and they were talking about how not everybody who is involved in the session there in Charleston has been vaccinated. We'll have to see how that affects what's going on. We'll talk to Steve about it tomorrow. And when we talk to Steve, I will have to ask him about this too, if he has any information. He had mentioned to me several times that he was part of the AstraZeneca trial, that the vaccine trial. And apparently, AstraZeneca is reporting that its COVID-19 vaccine provided strong protection among adults of all ages in the long-anticipated U.S. study, and that could help rebuild public confidence in the shot around the world as it moves another step closer to clearance in the United States. AstraZeneca has been the one that has been shut down in several countries about blood clots because they say it causes blood clots. Now, the sample size, I think the other day we talked about, was 1.5 million.
Yeah, it was outrageous with 37 blood clots. And they've said now, Europe has opened it back up to that, and that there is no correlation between the vaccine and blood clots. So, free and clear.
That will, when something like that happens, again, we're trying to build public confidence in the idea of getting vaccinated, and I can't tell you how much better I feel now that I have my second shot. Lowell and I are both vaccinated. Now, it takes 12 days post-last vaccination to get to the maximum capacity, which I think is somewhere around 95%. We both had Pfizer, so it's 95, 96%, somewhere in there. But I feel better about moving about my life. That's not to say that I won't do it cautiously, but still, I feel better. I feel better knowing that I've had it. When AstraZeneca is approved and cleared in the United States, which looks like it has a clear path to do so now, maybe that helps build global confidence that it is a shot that people can take. I guess, the study of 30,000 people, of which I would imagine Steve is one of them in the United States, the vaccine was found 79% effective at preventing symptomatic cases of COVID-19, including in older adults. There was no severe illness or hospitalizations among vaccinated volunteers. So that's good news. That's good news. So if we have 4 shots making their rounds, we heard Governor Justice a little bit ago in the Metro News update, noting that if you're over 16,
Yep.
you can get it as of today. Is it today that you can get on the list?
Yep, I think so.
So
Today or tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's either today or tomorrow. And that's great. That's great. Now the process is you actually have to do it. You actually have to go get vaccinated. And when there are 4 active vaccines that are being able to move, you have to think that the opportunity to slow this down would be a much greater opportunity.
If you haven't gotten a call from the registration, the West Virginia registration, do what Rick did before, and that's start looking.
Yeah.
Walgreens are giving out shots, Rite Aid.
I'm glad you brought this up because this was a weird statistic. I meant to even text it to you when we were texting back and forth yesterday. So I did. I got mine in Cambridge, Ohio, at the Rite Aid in Cambridge on Wheeling Avenue. The man told me that they are doing 200 shots a day. Volume-wise, they are doing the most of any Rite Aid in the region. He also told me that day, because Kyle and I both live in Pennsylvania, he told me that there was a day last week where 130 plus people were from out of state.
Oh, yeah.
Out of the 200. And it was basically Pennsylvania and West Virginia. He said someone drove there from Virginia. So knowing you have to go get 2 shots because they're serving Pfizer, you have to go. Yeah, I mean,
Sounds like you're at a restaurant.
in my mind,
I'll take a Pfizer.
yeah, in my mind, I have to make it sound like
J&J.
Yeah, like a cocktail. Yeah, exactly. So, but that's what they're serving there. Yeah, he told me that that they have served hundreds and hundreds of people that aren't from Ohio. So yeah, at this point, the idea of getting it is the most important thing. Go on every website. If you are waiting in West Virginia and you're 16 and over and you're eligible in your state, they don't care. They just want to get it into arms. So people are making a huge deal over this, and I get it. It's very difficult to get. And honestly, if I didn't track it down like a hound dog, I would not have it because Pennsylvania had just really not
Dropped
done.
the ball.
They really had dropped the ball, and it has improved. But yeah, at this point, just go get it and look around. If you're in Wheeling, you're in St. Clairsville, just go. They give you 10 options when you go. I'm just speaking strictly for Rite Aid. But they give you 10 options, and that's what I did when I opened my computer here and it was still on the Rite Aid site. It refreshed and gave me 10 options, 5 of which I had already tried, 5 of which I hadn't, and that's how I found it in Cambridge. But yeah, get on the list. Just get it done. Move forward. Let's go to fairs and festivals. Big Jim said, May 1st, fairs and festivals are open. We want to be there for them. We'll go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this show right here on The Watchdog.
Wake up to the Ohio Valley's favorite morning show, The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe. Weekday morning, 7 to 10 a.m. Only on The Watchdog. For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that The Watchdog trusts.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Getting ready to wrap up the show for today, 304-214-1600 if you want to get in on any of the conversations. We'll talk sports for a little bit. Obviously, the NCAA tournament has been pretty wild. The word madness should be associated with this. Oral Roberts. That's, I think so far the biggest shock. And I got to tell you, one of the things that just absolutely drove me nuts this weekend was reading some of the comments. I think the kid's name is E.J. Lendl. He plays for Ohio State. Obviously, look, I know it's a sensitive subject for a lot of people that listen to this show and live nearby and are big fans of Ohio State. What happened to this kid post-loss is maddening and sickening all at the same time. The kid got death threats to his Instagram accounts and various social media accounts because they lost.
That's not the first time.
It's not.
I mean, we've heard professional athletes get death threats, college players get death threats. It's truly sad. I mean, do you have money in it? I mean, in the team? Is it something that you're completely vested in? It's a game. It is a game.
Well, that was kind of the argument I was going to make. I'm not a prude, and I think every day this show makes me feel more like a prude, which I've never been. But I was thinking about that. Now, the things that you're such a bleeping disgrace. Don't ever show your face at Ohio State. We hate you. I hope you die. I really do. That's one of the samples that this poor kid took after losing in the tournament. I had to wonder, is the fact that you can gamble on everything part of that motivation? I mean, you look at your bracket, and yeah, you know there's always a chance, but 15 seed, 2 seed, you normally feel pretty confident where you're at.
Yeah.
Somebody bet the farm on that and lost, there's no doubt. But is that terrifying? Is it too scary? Is the idea that you can bet on everything a motivating factor in things like this? And I know that, I think it was, I saw somebody else from WVU posted it as well. They got some hate mail about losing, but not like this. This was just, could you imagine reading that? You're a student athlete, you're playing for your school, and I get it right now. It's a tumultuous situation between student athletes and schools over getting compensated for image and likeness use and things like that. And that's going to be a conversation that we're going to talk about for a long time until something is done about it. But at the end of the day, he's a kid. He's a kid. And maybe he has an extraordinary ability that most people don't have to be a great basketball player. But he's still a kid. And I don't know. I just wonder if we bet too much. I wonder if we risk too much as a society on kids. And that's what you end up with. You end up with people telling someone to die because they didn't win a basketball game. Don't show your face at Ohio State. The Ohio State police have stepped in, and they should. They should. You can't say that. Out of your mind.
I weigh you 10-1. Ha, ha, ha.
Of course.
Pun intended. That this guy had absolutely no money on the game. It's not like he lost $50,000 because people that bet that big,
they don't care about losing.
No, because you don't bet that big unless you've got it to lose. This is just some schmuck that walks around with an Ohio State jersey on and thinks he has a vested interest. He's probably not alma mater. He's probably doesn't have a kid that is a student there. It's just,
God, I hope this guy doesn't have kids at all.
Well, true, but you know what I mean?
Sure.
He has no vested interest in it. And that's the behavior you get.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. And I'm glad the police have stepped in because that kid doesn't deserve it.
No, he does not.
Absolutely. And then to add insult to injury in the state of Ohio, at least to Ohio State fans, the Bobcats of Athens, Ohio, which is, if you're not familiar, with about, 80, 90 minutes south of Columbus, maybe not even that far, they move on.
Yep. That's my mom's alma mater.
Is it really?
She would be so happy. I'm sure she's up in heaven just smiling down.
I'm sure, I got to tell you, Athens is a good time.
Oh, she loved the campus.
And those kids were out there partying like COVID didn't exist. So I wouldn't be surprised if OU has a little stir up, but I tell you what, that you couldn't have stopped them. You couldn't have stopped them. It's a school setback honestly, it's a sleepy little town that you wouldn't go to. If you were driving down that highway, I think it's Route 33 actually. If you were driving down that way, you would go, oh look, it's just a stop on the highway. You go there, it's actually a really enchanting place. It's a great campus. Their stadium is awesome. It is really a fun school, and the fact that they won. Years ago, the Bobcats actually pushed the Buckeyes on the football field, too. It didn't turn out for the Bobcats then, but they pushed them to the limit, and I remember the reaction from Ohio State fans. So this has to just burn. It absolutely has to burn for them. We'll finish up.
Snickering, but I'm snickering.
Hey, you know what? It is what it is. Bobcats, they did it. Weird story. Minor leaguer Jesus Camargo Corrales arrested in Colorado after he had 21 pounds of meth oxycodone in his Chicago Cubs duffel bag. Now, this is not the first time a professional athlete has been moving drugs. See Leon Lett for details. You remember that? He had Eric Green from the Steelers, I think, had a trunk full of smack or something. I mean, professional athletes sometimes get involved with big piles of drugs. This guy, I never would have imagined you'd move it in your team-issued duffel bag. He's probably not going to make the squad this year.
You think?
Yeah, I would bet not. I would bet not. Lastly, as we get ready to roll on for the day, things have gone from bad to worse for Deshaun Watson. These stories, I mean, honestly, there's an accusation that's come out now that I actually don't know how to present on the air to make it not sound lewd and lascivious, so I'm not going to say what it is.
Well, it is lewd and lascivious, but...
I'm not really sure exactly the proper words to say, so I'm not going to. If you really want to know, Google it. But now the lawsuits against Deshaun Watson up to 13. So the Texans who went to, we're not trading you, and could have, now look to themselves probably to find a different starting quarterback for the beginning of the season. When this initially started, it sounded like there was some, I don't know, maybe this is not. I don't think you get to 13 with not some of these accusations, at least some of them, having credibility and growing legs. This is going to continue. And if what I'm talking about, that lewd and lascivious act is true, this guy's done.
Well, and all the stories are, if not identical, very, very similar.
Yeah, he had kind of seems like perhaps he had a pattern.
Yeah.
I can't imagine all these people were coordinated to make this stuff up. Again, you're innocent until proven guilty. All I'm saying is it does not look good. Last week, I thought Cuomo was the hot sexual harassment story. Deshaun Watson's blown that out of the water. This story is big and getting bigger every minute. We're going to go ahead and get ready to wrap up the show for today. Enjoy the rest of your basketball listening and viewing. Enjoy the madness. Enjoy the fact that sports has returned. Enjoy the sunshine. Just go out there and find something positive to get into. Sit on your porch. Just do something good. Take a break from all the craziness. And we'll talk to you tomorrow at 2 o'clock right here on The Watchdog. Have a good evening, everybody.